Aggressive martial artist. I've been gone for a while, but it's cool. We back again. Hopefully, we can maintain a smooth stream throughout the course of this little episode I have prepared. I have a lot that's on my mind since obviously I haven't been on air for a while, so I'm very excited to dive in a few of these news stories and check up on some of you guys. I have a small community here of comrades that I deeply appreciate and support. So, one thing that I definitely want to talk about, and one thing that separates my channel and what I cover from other lefty news outlets, is I cover defund the police, and that's something that's a very important part of what my channel is going to be about. And if you've been watching, I constantly cover public perception of defund the police, and I'm very confident because we made a lot of ground over the last few months. So if you're joining the stream now, say hi, let me know, ask me any questions you have. I'm glad to be back live on air, and hopefully we can keep this stream running pretty smooth. I have a few stories. I'm gonna get started around 2 o'clock on the actual stories I'm gonna run. I just want to see how you guys doing starting off and get some comrades in the stream here. I already see a few people are running in. Do you support Jimmy Dore from David Walensky? I think you're on YouTube, right? Yeah, Jimmy Dore is my homie. Like, I don't know if you guys seen, but Jimmy Dore has been featuring a lot of my tweets on this show recently. Very happy that he follows me on Twitter now, and he's willing to present my beliefs out there. I think we align pretty close politically. A lot of the people who don't like Jimmy Dore, their dislike of him is mostly based on tone policing, right? So I want to get your guys' thoughts because I want to hear you guys' opinion on Dore as well, and I can dive into. I want to ask some of my comrades on Twitter, and also I'm gonna put the YouTube link out because I'm streaming on YouTube and I'm streaming on Twitter, so I'm gonna tweet the YouTube link out as well. Jimmy Dore. 1 second here, and then I want to get your guys' thoughts on Jimmy Dore and the Force the Vote movement. Again, a lot of steam. The People's Party is pushing a lot of support behind it. Discussing Jimmy Dore and the People's Party. Because there are a lot of people that just joined their board. I just saw Susan Sarandon. She joined the board as well. Dr. Cornel West. They got a lot of big hit on the progressives, on the progressive side. So let's see what people think about them. Discussing the Jimmy Dore and the People's Party. Push for force the vote in opposition to it. Because I have a few real stories I really want to cover, but I want to answer all you guys' questions as well. Social Sienna, I was hoping that you jump in here pretty soon. What's your thoughts on Jimmy Dore? Push the vote, force the vote, whatever. hope I hashtagged it right. Thank you for the subscription, RV. My man, we are back. You said it's been a rough day. I'm sorry to hear that, my man, Rocky Flame. You always free to vent in the chat if you want to. You always free to vent in the chat. I'm gonna make sure I spell out the force the vote out. So I got my YouTube link and my Twitter link posted up there now. So I think that's pretty nice. I think Jimmy is taking the right position, coming from Social Sienna. I'm all about putting pressure on the establishment and always being on the offensive. I never understood the technocratic approach that a lot of leftists take that has resulted in nothing but losses. Because look at the AOC line of thinking. Hey, how you doing, Bethany? Thank you for watching. I think I got some comrades coming in now. We're doing some warm-up, quick discussion, and I take some of your questions while we get started off here. Like I said, I got a few stories, and I'm gonna have a more professional format now because I'm gonna run my stories, and then I'll take your guys' questions, talk to the chat. Hopefully, you guys got some stories. 'Cause I love reacting live to stuff that's breaking or anything that you guys want to talk about that I missed. Because I'm a big political junkie. I'm glad everyone coming in. Casey Otinti, how you doing? Michael Spoto got in the house. How you doing? Michael said the only people who don't want to force the vote already have good health care. So it's something they don't mind kicking down the road. And this is something I wrote about on Twitter. And this is something I'm going to write a paper on as well. I noticed that there's a split on the left. It's been clear to me ever since Bernie Sanders dropped out that there are people on the left with good intentions, but they don't have the sense of urgency that everyone else has. They support Medicare for all. They support progressive policies, but at the end of the day, they're comfortable. And then there's the people on the left that, like me, and a lot of people who are more supportive of Jimmy Dore, and this is who his crowd speaks to, who we are progressives and we're on the left, not because we necessarily read a ton of theory. We are on the left because our life situation, right? I mean, I'm struggling right now. I'm watching the stimulus deal going on. I'm like, bro, I really hope this works out. Because I'm still a young channel on YouTube and Twitch. I'm not really making that much money as a content creator. Job market's pretty rough. So I'm like, man, I'm watching the stimulus negotiation. I'm like, with a lot of interest. And when I'm discussing Medicare for all, when I'm discussing healthcare, I'm discussing something that would be life-changing. So I don't understand progressives who want to tone police the people on the left that is less fortunate who needs healthcare right now. Because I guess who don't have healthcare? I don't have healthcare. So how, as someone who don't have healthcare, I'm not gonna be against anyone who want to force the party to fight for Medicare for all. Because you gotta ask yourself, what was the point of the squad? What was the point of the progressives if they wasn't going to fight against the Democratic Party? And this is something that's been disheartening to me because I was under the assumption, I've been under the belief that we was all anti-establishment. That was my belief. My belief was that we all opposed the Democratic Party from its very core and its foundation because it's a party ran by war criminals and corrupt, evil villains. Like look at Nancy Pelosi. One of the most corrupt people in the world, period. We can play the clip of the insider trading that Pierre Dow tweeted. I love that. But when it comes to the amount of money she fundraised and what she supports and what she's been fighting against, ever since she became in the political power position that she in now, because she supported universal health care in the 90s. And now she opposes it because she takes the money from Silicon Valley and Big Pharma. You got our black leaders like Jim Clyburn who does the same thing. Black people suffer the most of the medical debt. Despite us only being 13% of the population, we have 31% of medical debt. We hold 31% of medical debt, despite that. So, and we are discriminated against in the healthcare field, and we are charged higher interest rates. That's directly because neoliberal policies that Joe Biden and the Democratic Party pushed their entire career with the bankruptcy bill. So my position is these people are not our friends. These people are not our allies. The people who, like AOC, who want to take it slow and fight within the Democratic Party to let our voice be heard, they are missing a very big piece of the puzzle. They don't like you. They will never like you, no matter what you do. And any extent that Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, and the Democratic Party will work with you, they will work with you to screw over working class people and push U.S. imperialism. That's why I'm deeply disappointed with everyone minus Rashida Tlaib and Tulsi Gabbard who voted for the COVID relief package, because that COVID relief package, I have the story I'm gonna cover today. Gaza is being bombed right now. We just sent $500 million to Israel while our people starve. $600. You guys voting for that? And then we have the people who are comfortable, the same progressives who don't cover foreign policy, that are super popular for some reason. They don't cover Israel or Gaza, or they're weak. They have fucking war criminals on their show. I'm not gonna call anyone out, but you guys know who I'm talking about. The people who don't care about foreign policy, the people who are pushing us to vote for Joe Biden, the people who voted for this relief bill that sends $500 million to Israel. That's unforgivable. But we're gonna cover that story later today. And Colin Liebert said then the bankruptcy bill had to do with student debt, which is also disproportionately weighing on black population. Yes, the bankruptcy bill did not get the kind of coverage that it deserved. It did not get the kind of coverage that it deserved. Because the bankruptcy bill itself was one of the most anti-working class legislations of all time. And Joe Biden fought and voted against amendments that made the bankruptcy bill much, much worse. And he was a chief architect of that bill, and he fought on behalf of the credit card companies his entire life. His entire life he did that. So I cover this a lot on my show, but I have the receipts because, like, once again, even people who didn't like Biden, they would talk about they'll talk about his crime bill, but they didn't really talk about the bankruptcy bill enough. I covered this many times on my show, but why not? Why not show it again, right? And Insidious MG say it was ran by the bankers. Yeah, and the bankers are Joe Biden's boss. That's who he works for. He always been a strong advocate and public servant of Wall Street at the end of the day. So this is all about the bankruptcy bill. He voted against 3 amendments to ease bankruptcy requirements for consumers whose financial troubles stem from medical expenses. He voted against an amendment that would help seniors keep their homes. So student loan debt is one thing that was affected by Joe Biden's bankruptcy bill. That's just one of the consequences. But as you see here, it only get worse. How is this the lesser of two evils? I want you guys to think that when I'm reading this through. He voted against exempting service members and widows of service members killed in actions from the law's eligibility restrictions. He voted against an amendment to exempt women whose financial trouble stemmed from deadbeat husbands' failure to pay child support or alimony. Now, I say Joe Biden is one of the most anti-black politicians in the public in the modern era. That's what I've been saying. If I am, which I am, I'm a big supporter of feminist movements and pro-women rights, but I focus a lot on problems the African American community, but I believe in solidarity. Anyone who watches my show knows that. But if your main thing is pushing gender equality and women empowerment, how can you not be out there saying Joe Biden is the most anti-woman candidate who won? Look, this is extremely anti-woman. He's been against Roe v. Wade his entire career. He voted against an amendment that would exempt women whose financial trouble stems from deadbeat husbands. What's more anti-woman than that? Am I off base here? Do I have any women watching my show right now? That's anti-women too. He voted. He's anti-family. He voted against an amendment that would have ensured that children of people who owe money could still be getting birthday and Christmas presents. This is evil. This is evil. Hey, so simply too deep. How you doing? Thank you for watching. Thank you everyone for watching. I'm back. I've been gone for about a few weeks, fixing some things. My My stream crashed. I'm trying to upgrade my internet. Hopefully, my stream stay high quality. If it start messing up, we'll call it. Hopefully, I can at least get an hour and a half with you guys. But I've been having a lot of technical issues here, so that's why I've been as active as I was earlier on this month. But I do appreciate support. If you enjoy, please subscribe. I also have my Patreon in my PayPal link, so please support me. Anyway, let's look at this. That's just one thing about Biden's record that's horrific. And now Joe Biden is being as bad as a Democratic incumbent as you could hope for. Right? Because you guys see that story that Joe Biden played a key role in getting us lower stimulus bills and packages. And then we've seen the weakness of Donald Trump, who signed the bill into law after puffing his chest out and doing what the con man does best. He's a con man, so he has to con people. He was talking. I always said I didn't believe his bullshit when he's talking about, yo, I'll push him for $2,000 checks. Like, bitch, you already lost. You weak. You're a one-term president. You got mad out here still talking shit. You got mad out here still talking shit like this dude wasn't a one-term president. Thank you for the subscription, my man. Ain't kind of lie, bro. But how are you gonna talk shit when you MAGA? You lost to Kamala Harris. They lost to Kamala Harris. And they lost to Kamala Harris because Trump is a weak bitch. Who would act like was fighting against his negotiation. But at the end of the day, he's Mitch McConnell bitch. That's what I'm gonna say. Donald Trump is Mitch McConnell's bitch for signing the stimulus into law. Off on Joe Biden for playing a part in negotiating a smaller deal. You guys know what I'm talking about? You guys know what I'm talking about? Because Joe Biden actually stepped in and was like, I envy me. What's up? I'm back. We are back. I miss you guys too. Everything's not perfect, but I'm going through some technical issues, and I'm hoping I can get at least an hour or so before things go south. I got a lot of things I got to fix, and I'm trying to get a new setup soon. Seven's in the house. Let's go. Let's go. The crew's here. I still got to run my first story. I've just been talking to the chat so far. I got stories I'm planning on running. That's what I usually like to do. I'm live on YouTube and Twitch. I'm gonna have my YouTube the replay on YouTube, and I'm trying to cut these stories out and post those as clips. I got big things working in 2021. I'm not gonna say anything right now, but man, woo! Next year, my channel is gonna be fire. Like, we just started this summer. I started with just a tablet. Now, I just got monetized on YouTube. This is my first stream since being monetized, so I'm gonna step my YouTube game up greatly. I gotta survive. I gotta figure out how the fuck I'm gonna do. We got some, if you want to support me, I'm right here. But just like everyone else, I'm watching the stimulus news. Like, fuck, I hope something happens. But guess what? Donald Trump is a fucking bitch. Donald Trump is a bitch. He over here talking about, I want 2,000 checks for Americans. Mitch McConnell like, bitch, you ain't doing nothing. I knew he was all talk. And there are people on the left that are always like, actually, Trump not that bad. He's lesser evil. You guys gotta understand where I always came from. My position never was Trump is better than Democrats. My position was the Democrats are like Trump. People get it twisted. People get that twisted all the time. Donald Trump is a piece of shit. I'm gonna cover the Israel Gaza story, but that's happening under Donald Trump. Donald Trump vetoed the genocide in Yemen. He's a bitch of the war machine. He's a bitch of Saudi Arabia. People, and then liberals like, oh, you don't go hard on Trump enough. You don't like Trump. I mean, you don't attack Trump like you do Democrats. I got no reason to go after Republicans like I do Democrats, because Democrats is our main opposition. I can't even challenge Republicans. I was looking forward to fighting Donald Trump and MAGA under the banner of Bernie Sanders, the true opposition to the right wing neo fascism. I was looking forward to that. I had attack lines after attack line ready, but I'm not holding water for your neoliberal fucks at the end of the day, because this is what I hate. I hate when people will say, "Oh, so you prefer fascism to neoliberalism?" I didn't say that. You know what you're doing when you say that? You are whitewashing the crimes of neoliberalism by blindly comparing it to fascism. They are different things, but they are two completely different evils. So how can you whitewash neoliberalism by just comparing it to fascism when neoliberalism is responsible for the destruction of the black community? Neoliberalism is responsible for the destruction of the Middle East. Neoliberalism is responsible for the U.S. support for multiple coups in South America. We live in a failed state where our people are going hungry. We got bread lines in our country. That's neoliberalism. And you want to whitewash it by comparing it to fascism? What kind of fascists lose by election? Am I wrong? What fascists lose by election? Liberals be like, "Oh, we got to fight fascism. Here's my vote." The fuck? So you guys not even talking about the right thing. And then, if you want to say that Trump is the fascist, then the point where I will agree is his use of a government force, of the police, DHS, to crack down on opposition. You have police that is executing protesters and Antifa on the left. I can't pronounce his last name. I don't want to say it wrong. My man Michael, the guy who was accused of killing the right-wing protester. The cops came up and killed him. The cops killed him. Didn't even try to arrest him. They didn't even try to arrest the dude. And then you guys talking about we gotta fund the police. I'm gonna tweet about that too. Yeah, this is how I usually rant and rave, and I'm like, bro, I'm gonna send a tweet out. So yeah, doing more discussion covered about defund the police, because this is why we should defund the police. That's neo-fascism, and that's what you guys accuse Trump of doing. You guys accuse Trump of being a fascist, but you guys want to give more money to this fascist system of policing. And no matter if you think like if he's guilty or not, look how our police state treated Kyle Rittenhouse. Now compare that to how they treated this Antifa guy that the government straight up assassinated. Watch this. Look at this. I found it. And you guys want to whitewash neoliberalism by blindly comparing it to fascism? Yeah, and I envy me. I'm about to cover that story too. They won't even call the Nashville dude a terrorist because, once again, our media apparatus in our corporate fascist state is designed to apologize for the police. That's it. Let's send that one out. Like I didn't even have this as a plan 7, but my chat be sending me off. So once again, please, if you guys have any stories you want to share, anything that you want to share with me as well, post it in the chat. I'm gonna send my subscribers, my loyal people. I can send you my Discord link so you join my show. We're gonna do that a little bit later though, cause I might do a little longer episode today. The corporate media. This is what I'm gonna tell y'all now. The corporate media protects and serve white supremacy, refusing to call the same for police that protects Kyle Rittenhouse while murdering Breonna Taylor. Bro, people would have been like, bro, that's spicy as fuck. They're not even spicy. Like, that's facts. Like, where am I wrong when I say that? Because the corporate media, They protect the Nashville bomber and apologize for him. The police protect Kyle Rittenhouse, but they murder Breonna Taylor. Right? Oh, sorry guys, I'm finishing this tweet here. Cause I'm trying to do a better job advertising. You guys know what I'm trying to do. Send me stories and leave me questions in the chat. I'll get right to that as well. Mel's in the house. I'm glad to see you, of course. Now we can really start having some fun. But how am I wrong? People be like, dude, that's hella spicy. Is it? So this story about that this is an old story, but it's still very relevant in discussing our police state, right? Mel, you cracking me up. But look, the police gave no warning in Antifa activist shooting. So you guys got to understand what this is. This is the police retaliating against someone who killed their buddy, their far-right buddy. Meanwhile, Kyle Rittenhouse killed left-wing protesters, and they thank him. They bring them softly. They write like puff pieces on him. And there's a famous meme of where the media will call anyone who's white. They will say he's got mental illness. He suffered from economic anxiety. Meanwhile, if you're dark skinned, you're a terrorist. You're a thug. Liberals call me that too, actually. They call me a thug all the time. I don't know how to say his last name. But U.S. Marshals Task Force did not identify themselves before killing Antifa activist Michael Reino. I don't want to disrespect the man. So they didn't introduce themselves. They gave no warning, and they also said they didn't even try to arrest him. You guys see the story? All cops are bastards. That was my man, video game architect said. All cops are bastards. Ain't that right? Forgiving Chi? I require your participation. What did I miss in the chat? What did I miss? I envy me said the Democratic Party are the main obstacle to change. It appears the lesser of two evils. I see. You say its role is to appear as the lesser of two evil as a shock absorber for capitalism. Its main function is to diffuse, absorb, and co-opt social opposition and political dissent during times of upheaval caused by economic and social crisis. I envy me. That's a great comment. I love that comment. That's exactly what the media establishment and that's what the liberals are designed to do. They are designed to co-opt and hijack leftist movement and diffuse the anger, the righteous anger that we have, and they want to prop up these oppressive forces. Once again, have you heard any liberals talk about ICE recently? They was up in arms about Trump and ICE, how they had kids in cages. Meanwhile, Joe Biden just walked back and said they're not going to do any immediate reversals on Trump immigration policies. Where's the outcry about that? Meanwhile, you have Biden bros who are not only they're not saying anything about ICE, they're demanding everyone be loyal to Joe Biden. They calling out anyone who dare question Kamala Harris, Joe Biden. Look at this. Amy says, "Don't you dare criticize Joe Biden after Trump has burned America to the ground." Trump burned America to the ground thanks to your guys' help. You guys helped him do that. You guys wasn't pushing for the solutions to the problems that would solve COVID. I'm still waiting for a report out of Joe Biden how opening schools is going to slow the spread of the virus. You got Larry Summers. Larry Summers, Joe Biden homie. Larry Summers is Joe Biden economic advisor. And he is telling Joe Biden, he's telling people in the media that we shouldn't have these checks. We got liberal media, MSNBC, talking about how $600 is enough. How Nancy Pelosi has done a great job negotiating, even though she turned down the deal that actually owed more money. That's what the Democratic Party and their apparatus is all about. Let's see. For giving cheese, Bill Clinton is bloodier president than Donald Trump, and that's the forgiving chai. Trump is definitely he ramped up U.S. imperialism like every U.S. president and their predecessor. The media establishment is already building up and already doing propaganda for Joe Biden to set up a war hawk administration. They already want him to be tougher on Russia than Trump was, and Trump was extremely tough on Russia. Trump was extremely tough on North Korea compared. They want Joe Biden to be tougher on North Korea. That would mean sanctions, right? I'm speaking to my friend Forgivici here because she preaches about this. Who I always said had underrated foreign policy takes. My friend Forgivici. Because, like, bro, if you put sanctions on North Korean people, they're not, you just heard in the civilians who did nothing to us. They wanted to be tough on Russia, even though Donald Trump created this new Cold War. And now they're trying to ramp up war against China. They want to do a two-front Cold War under Joe Biden. They want to go to war against Russia. They want to go to war against China. A new Cold War. The media pounding the drums for that. Forgive me, she said 500,000 dead Iraqis due to U.S. sanctions. Madeleine Albright said that 500,000 dead Iraqi children were worth it. And once again, Anna Kasparian had her on her show, and she was gushing over her. Once again, that we were talking about the two different lefts. You got a left that's more sympathetic to Jimmy Dore and his base, and you have the TYT left, the people who will give a platform to someone like Madeleine Albright, right? RV said, here's some more on Michael R. and how difficult it is to obtain records on his killing. Oh, thank you for sharing this, Harvey. Let me pull this up. This is talking about the police assassination of the Antifa activists. Without due cause, like no matter what, if you want people that want to say, oh, you shouldn't have killed that person or whatever, okay. There was no due cause. This is extrajudicial killing by the police. This is from Louis George Shorts, the link that you sent me. Hopefully the stream running pretty well. I'm glad. I don't think I see any issue so far. If it does, I'm logging out. I don't ghetto like that. So this is about the records of the state murder of Michael. I don't know how to say his last name. I don't want to butcher it. I got too much respect for the man. This is the link. I asked for public record on the fatal police shooting. Then a Washington Sheriff's Office sued me. What? A move is similar to what's known as a reverse FOIA lawsuit, which forces the registrar to go to court to defend his right to access public records. Sound like they got a guilty conscience to me, guys. I don't know about you guys. They seem like they got a very guilty conscience to me. What? You guys see this? Let's see what he knows, because I'm always looking for more information on this. Let's go through this together. This is why I love when you guys share me stories, because a Washington State Superior Court judge issued a temporary restraining order Wednesday against the Washington Department of Corrections, DOC, and myself to block the release of public records regarding the failed September 3rd shooting of Michael Forrest Rhino by a law enforcement task force. The judge granted a motion filed Tuesday by the Thurston County Sheriff's Office seeking to temporarily enjoin the Washington DOC from releasing records to me on Rhino, who were killed by a fugitive task force composed of U.S. Marshals and several Washington law enforcement agencies, including Washington DOC. This is terrifying stuff, isn't it? Like, what's gonna stop them from continuing from doing this? Especially under Joe Biden. I mean, they are supportive of this stuff, right? Seven said, but come on, Nick. She couldn't give Trump the win. She playing. I think he's being sarcastic. She playing that 32-dimensional chess, using every arrow in her quiver to deny the poor and homeless people that she proudly represents anything other than crumbs. I think you talking about Nancy Pelosi. The fucked up thing is Nancy Pelosi district is pretty goddamn rich. So Nancy Pelosi is doing the will of the rich liberal class, and the will of the rich liberal class is class warfare, austerity politics. That Joe Biden and the liberal class support trickle-down economics. Don't get it twisted. So, you guys seen this story. This is the example of fascism in our country. Now, let's go to this. Because this is what we're going to have to deal with. And let's I'm gonna let them know that we're discussing this. I'm blowing my feet up, but I'm advertising. I'm not apologizing for it. Cause we gotta grow my channel. We're doing it together. So I'm talking about discussing Joe Biden's love of trickle down economics and why him teaming up with Mitch McConnell terrifies me. Cause I changed my name. I mean, it's not like this name I have is obviously not like super clever or witty like I like my other ones to be. The Joe Biden is a Mitch McConnell Democrat, but that's about as accurate as it gets, right? Cause people don't know. I mean, hey Meganator, I'm glad you're here. I'm glad Boot to the Head here as well. My crew has arrived. Right, I'm glad that you guys are here. You guys are like my core group. Magnaire, I still want to have you. I need to send you my link to my Discord because I still wanted to bring you on and talk to you for a bit. Maybe we can run a segment later today on that, right? Wink. you want favorite homies on Twitter, so. But I changed my name to that because people don't know that Joe Biden actually negotiated with Mitch McConnell. And Barack Obama put Joe Biden in charge of negotiating with Senate Republicans. Now, yeah, you get segment 2 for Giving Chi with Shahid. But people don't know that, and you saw the clip that I got silenced right now that I'm gonna play here. Man, I'm gonna put the Discord link in the. I should put the Discord link in the chat. But I need to do my solo segment for now. But I would love to talk to you guys. I wasn't on last week. I took a little break trying to figure out my setup. But Barack Obama put Joe Biden in charge of negotiating the stimuluses in 2008 when the financial crash happened. And once again, that was not done on accident. Barack Obama and the Democratic establishment knows that Joe Biden is deeply, deeply economically conservative. He's been open about that. He bragged about being the Senate's most conservative Democrat during the era of Bill Clinton. Thank you for the follow, Come Rosari. Anyone else want to follow and subscribe? Please support my channel. I'm trying to grow. Trying to get my numbers up too. We need to get to 70 viewers watching me at a time, but we're doing better. But Joe Biden worked with Mitch McConnell. And you had even Blue Dog Democrats at the time that was getting upset, like Steny Hoyer. You had a lot of people that was getting upset at Joe Biden because we was giving up too much. And he was happy about giving up that much ground with Mitch McConnell because they fundamentally agree on ideology. And as you can see here from this clip, it's terrifying because I bring up how Barack Obama made George Bush tax cuts permanent when he didn't have to, when there was a sunset clause on that. And then liberals act like I have no righteous complaints. But here, Joe Biden brags about it. And just like this gentleman says, I have no idea how this speech never came up on the campaign. So let's watch this clip and I'll get to some of you guys on the comments. But look at this. This is scary because this is what we got to deal with the next 4 years and coming into this administration.
I don't want to get him in trouble, nor does he want to get me in trouble. We talked honestly and frankly about the big things that were left to be done. And we could not agree, even the two of us, on some of them. But we agreed on a process. We agreed on a process.
Look how happy Mitch is.
We're able to reach the only major compromise, only truly bipartisan.
He's talking about the
event
tax
that
cuts.
Occurred in the first 2 years of our administration. The compromise on tax policy, which Mitch acknowledged, which we both believe has spurred the economic growth.
They
But
both believe tax cuts for the rich spur economic growth. He is a right winger, and I post that in the liberal class. I am unhinged when I literally bring up what he says, what Barack Obama says. Barack Obama said he governed like Ronald Reagan. He governed like a moderate Republican, and here you got Joe Biden agreeing with trickle-down economics. Mitch McConnell happy because Joe Biden's backing him and his talking points up. And this is why Joe Biden said he's not going to embarrass Senate Republicans. This is why.
On tax policy, which Mitch acknowledged, which we both believe has spurred the economic growth.
That's
we got a long
damning.
way to go, but it actually not only was a compromise, but it was a compromise that was useful for the economy.
It was useful for the economy. They agree on tax policy. Most people who watch my channel and people who follow my tweets, people who are politically on the same side as me, even they know trickle down is a failed economic system. There've been studies. I'm gonna pull a study up here shortly.
We both got beat up.
Yeah, you got beat up because it's trash.
But we knew we were doing the right thing.
By giving the rich people tax cuts.
I don't want to get him in trouble.
That's who the progressive movement decided to vote for and stand. Someone who believes. That's who Amy. Tim, you helped them burn the country to the ground. You have to agree on tax policy. Where's the disagreement between Donald Trump and Joe Biden on taxes? Magnator said Joe Biden's an austerity Democrat. Joe Biden's a trickle-down Democrat. He says it. He says it. Someone on the YouTube chat, Skeptical Mantis channel said, "Free Palestine, hell yeah, free Palestine." Like I said, I still got a story. I'm covering Gaza. That's what you get on my channel. Please follow and subscribe if you're enjoying what you're seeing. But this is why it's so awful that we have this guy in charge at this time. How many times do we have to read a study for it to catch on? 50 years of tax cuts for the rich failed to trickle down. Economic studies says. Could have had Tom Steyer. Man, we just need Tom Steyer to do better in South Carolina and tank Joe Biden. God damn it, Steyer. Should have fucking known they were going to do some shit like that. Fucking piece of shit. 50 years of tax cuts for the rich failed to trickle down. This was written December 17th this year. I mean, there's studies like this constantly done. But meanwhile, the liberal class and Joe Biden still believes in this. They still believes in this stuff. Tax cuts for the wealthy have long drawn support from conservative lawmakers and liberal lawmakers. See, stop lying, CBS. So this is them doing cover for the Democrats because we just heard Joe Biden and Mitch McConnell agreeing on this. So once again, even though they doing reporting on trickle-down economics and the evil of trickle-down economics, they still gotta be the attack dog of the Democratic Party and pretend that they somehow have the more high ground over the Republicans. Anyway, Larry Summers agree on trickle-down. Like Larry Summers coming out against $2,000 checks and saying that we shouldn't have more stimulus checks. That's him pushing trickle-down economics. That's Joe Biden, economic advisor. So it's not just conservative lawmakers and economics. That's liberals and conservative. So that's small, but this is why I don't like the media. This is why I still read their media, because I can pinpoint when they're bullshitting me. And this is them like kind of bullshitting people, because that's not just conservatives, liberals too. Anyway, they argue that such measure will trickle down and eventually boost jobs and incomes for everyone else. But a new study from London School of Economics says 50 years of such tax cuts have only helped one group, the rich. Not just the tax cuts. Like, this is a great article. But not just the tax cuts, guys. It's the entire philosophy of neoliberal capitalism leads to only helping the rich. So this article doing a good job exposing the trickle down, but what it's not doing is eyeing on the right target. They make it seem like it's only conservatives who why this is going wrong. And not just conservatives. It's the entire neoliberal capitalist system. The entire neoliberal capitalist system is built on the lie that we had to build up and prop up corporations and the rich. That's why we give trillions of bailout money to the rich. Meanwhile, they are letting poor people starve because they believe in trickle-down economics inherently. That's why Joe Biden wanted us to have less money. That's why Barack Obama built out the banks. That's why they have this approach. They actually all believe in this. So my theory of economics and what me and people on the left, what we believe as a theory of economic change is if you gave $2,000 a month to everyday people, we will still be able to shop. We'll be able to stimulate our local economies, and that generates tax revenues. That gives money to the businesses so they can continue to pay their employees. This is a progressive style economics because we don't need the money to go to the rich. Your guys' system of creating markets is highly dysfunctional. And it leads to capitalism crashing every 10 years. The economic system completely crashed 2 times before I turned 30 because of the trickle-down economic approach. So, once again, I'm reading this article. We're going over this article. But I want you guys to understand that it's more than just taxes. It's an entire theory of economics they have. The entire theory. And this is what Joe Biden just said he agrees on. The audacity of the liberal class saying that we shouldn't criticize and treat this guy as our number one enemy. You guys say, I help Republicans by going after Democrats. Meanwhile, the people you prop up, the people that Joe Biden hires, are literally Republicans. Deeply unserious people are supportive of Joe Biden. Deeply unserious people are the people who told us to vote for him. I'm not mad if you vote for him. I don't care who you vote for. But you out here campaigning for him when he's not giving us shit. When I knew he was going to lie on all his policy platforms, you was being a clown. I knew he wasn't going to really pass student loan debt relief. I knew he wasn't going to roll back Trump immigration policy because he's been responsible for all of those. So why would he roll that back? And I said that, and many of the false progressives, many of the white progressives, got mad at me for saying something that was blatantly true. Blatantly true. We are like, it's just deeply unserious of people who believe that this guy was going to be a push left. These are the people that have our best interests at heart. Right? Let's go to, let me check out, I'll miss some of the chats here. And I can finish this article here. 7 said burn to the ground. Not yet. Not sure what you're saying there. But what if the rich people will leave? Now, you saying that in a mocking way, that red wire music. But what if the rich leave the country? They're not going to abandon the largest markets in the world. Period. Just like, I remember when AOC stood up against Amazon in New York. I give her a lot of props for that. And she ended up winning because Amazon ended up going there anyway. Because Democrats and conservatives want to give them corporate socialism. They want to give them free tax bailout money. Tax breaks. Buy them a helipad. And AOC and Progressive said, no, fuck you. Activists on the ground said, fuck you. And they came over there anyway. The media were quiet about that when that came out. They're not going to abandon California, the 4th largest economy in the world. They're not going to abandon New York. They're not going to abandon Texas. Capitalism is, and their defenders are deeply unserious. If you think the rich is going to leave because they got to pay more taxes, especially with the progressive economic approach I laid out earlier, because if you had the progressive economic approach that I endorse, the working class families will have money. And the working class people will be able to invest in small businesses in their area. You'll have monopolies like Amazon and Walmart broken up so they don't destroy small businesses. your form of economics, and I'm talking about the capitalists, I'm talking about the neoliberals, is deeply unserious and it doesn't work. Forgive it, she said, God damn it, Steyer supports defund the police. He needs to school Biden. Steyer is the only Democratic contender who supports defunding police. Steyer was pretty good on imperialism, defunding police, but he needs to support Medicare for all. Did he support a wealth tax, though? I fucking hated Tom Steyer, though, during the election because he put so much money in the race and tricked a lot of black people into liking him. That was hurting Bernie Sanders, but he was taking a lot of Joe Biden away. But Biden was, Steyer, I definitely would rank him maybe in the top 3 or 4 of the candidates this year. Even though I hate billionaires, I would have Bernie obviously number 1 by a mile. I like Marianne Williamson. Then Tom Steyer, right? Tosi took a lot of hit for me. Then Andrew Yang, but Andrew Yang, like I said, Steyer is good on pluralism. Like, forgive me in the chat, she can tell you. Steyer opposed U.S. imperialism. He was sympathetic to the Palestinian struggle. Andrew Yang actually supported Israel, and he had to believe that Julian Assange should be prosecuted. And there was a few things that Yang had, a few of his beliefs that was deeply disappointing. It's just those small things that's important, but I think we got to take the best of all these anti-establishment campaigns. Because Tom Steyer wasn't out there campaigning for Biden the same way that Bernie Sanders was. I mean, Steyer kind of gave him a half-hearted endorsement. But anyone who don't support Medicare for all, sorry for giving you, but fuck, I don't like. Anyone who don't like Medicare for all, that's a big stain. But I give them props where props is due. I give them props where it's due. Let's go back to this article debunking trickle-down economics. Actually, I know I'm probably annoying the timeline, but let's get some more people in here. I'm glad that I get a lot of comments and engagement so far. If you enjoy the stream, hit me with a follow, subscribe. I got this thing I want to do. Like, what if I come back later in the evening? Will y'all be down to watch that? Like, this could be my first part, and if I find a quiet time in the evening, I could stream at that time too. Actually, I'm gonna just retweet some of these tweets. I'm getting good engagements on this stream despite me being out for a while. But it's hard to grow. I like talking about politics, but hard to grow. Yeah, and I even me say Yang is horrible on foreign policy. But what's funny is he'd be the best president we have ever domestically. Yep, he would. There's no doubt that he would have been the best president domestically, but that's not a high bar. Wait, he said, can you retouch on Steyer? Hopefully you heard what I said. Steyer has some pretty decent positions, actually, but I don't like billionaires. And I didn't like his position on Medicare for all, but he's actually pretty dope. What time tonight? I don't know. My brother is going to be chilling here. I usually have my friend to come by. So we see. You guys gotta understand that I'm not in the studio. So if I do it later, maybe a little bit background noise. I don't know. We see. But we can go through some like breaking news I didn't cover today. I'm thinking maybe doing afternoon stream, then late night stream, to try and make up for the fact that I was off for like a week. Stimulus might pass today. Could discuss that later. Yeah, we can do a story on stimulus later today. I'm going to do some more reading into the negotiations and all that. Make sure you get you guys high quality information. I even said, Nick, you giving 5 minutes of your time is amazing. I'm grateful no matter what, man. Please just tweet out when you live again. Don't want to be late at all. Yeah, I send a few tweets out. I don't know that many people see me when I tweet, or maybe people just ignore them. I don't know. Maybe people just ignore it when I tweet out my streams, but I do tweet them out. I do have it for the people who actually do watch them. Maybe I should actually get into my official stories, because I have a few stories written. I got a good amount of people that watch it now. Thank you. You're a true comrade, Mel. Um, you're a true comrade. Red Wire Music. I see all your tweets except the ones that say you're going live. I'm trying to get my ass on the recommended. I need to get some new people that watch my Twitch streams. I feel like you guys tolerate me because you guys know me on Twitter, but it's not like I got the most professional setup here, right? I'm pretty sure everyone know that we're like homies now for giving you now, especially now. You on my stream? She's like my opposition research specialist. She's dangerous, and we're dangerous as a team. You guys know I'm just ranting now. Like, I'm doing a long stream today, so I'm just fucking around. Let me get the story together. Oh yeah, we probably talking about defund the police. I did do the assassination story, but what I'm very happy about right now is, and you guys see the title of my stream, right? Defund the police is actually gaining steam. I think it's gaining steam. This is why the liberal class was so desperate to I'm gonna do something new. I'm gonna quote tweet this one. Taking questions on defund. Like, people love when I ask questions. I'm gonna say taking questions on defund the police. Join me live. Or, I don't fucking know. Ask me anything. I suck at promoting. I like talking about politics. Like, you all know who I am, right? I never, like, liberals always build me up to be more than I actually am. Like, liberals like, man, this dude's so cocky, he's so arrogant, he thinks he's a know it all. I'm very clear that I'm just a political nerd. Like, I was just some guy who used to tweet in the void starting in 2018, and now I got 55,000 people who watch my tweets. I've always been very clear about what I am. Progressive martial arts and forgiving are Team Fury. Team Furry. Hey, I'm not a furry. I'm not a furry. I'm not furry. I'm not here to kink shame anybody, though. Do what you gotta do. Do what you gotta do. It's all good. But I'm not. That's not me. That's not me. That's not me. Follow my tweets after 9 p.m. to see what I'm really like. That's why I can't run for office, because I'm pretty sure I got way too many fucking tweets that I really fucked up on. I had some tweets I should have definitely left in the draft. If I ever ran, so many people will go after me, bro. So many tweets will resurface. I really fucked up. I really fucked up, but I'm just some hood nigga. Sorry. See, look. Sorry, I'm getting too relaxed. I need to go back to my presentation mode. But I don't know what they expect. You guys see, I'm from Kansas City. I'm just some black guy in Kansas City who dropped out of college. And guess what? They're gonna fucking destroy me once I really become a threat to the establishment, right? Yeah, we're black. I ain't even say why you apologizing, but y'all know who I am. I just like politics. That's why I tell the story all the time. It's kind of funny to me. Like, I was tweeting in the void for a long time. In 2019, in the summer, I had 500 followers, and I used to have a profile picture of Ilhan Omar back when I used to simp for Ilhan a lot. I used to be an Ilhan simp, so I have her as my profile picture. I feel like my tweets are always, thank you for the follow, Ashes Protesting. Please follow if you enjoy my stream as well. I'm trying to grow out here. But before I got a political voice, I was just a Ilhan stan with 500 followers in the summer. And then I was like, every liberal, especially because I only had like 500 followers, they were like, man, you're a Russian bot. You're a Russian bot. I'm like, bro, I'm not fucking a Russian bot. I'm like, and the one day I'm like, fuck it. I'm going to use my real picture. I'm going to use my goddamn real picture. Let me see if I can find it. And then I put my real picture on, and I feel like the reaction from people was like, oh shit, I didn't know he was black. They were like, I didn't know he was black. Let me see if I can find a tweet. I still got the original tweet. If I can find it. Damn, I originally tweeted a long time ago. I'm trying to see if I can find a real, because I changed my Twitter to change my picture, and then as soon as I changed my picture to my real picture, people was like, "You're black," and then people start following me after that. I'm like, "What? How that happen?" And then I had like 1,000, 2,000. Then I went to Canvas for Bernie, and I was doing my field reporting for what I saw in South Carolina. Ended with 10,000. And after Bernie dropped out, I was just been in a fucking rage. I've been rage tweeting since Super Tuesday. Now I got 55. I'm like, whoa, how the fuck that happened? So I even said, when do you blow up? Yeah, that's pretty much how it happened. I don't know. Now I got people like Nia Turner, Brandon Joy Gray, Angela Walker who followed me. So I'm still very humbled by that. I got a lot of great people that I respect that follow me. But it mostly came from my activism days. Now I'm just some angry black guy on Twitter that people act like I'm pretending I'm more than I am. Now I'm not. I'm just some guy I'm just some nerd who like to talk about politics. So forgive it, you're the greatest. So she said my make your slogan. I said what I said. That pretty much my only strategy would be, hey, it's all about my policies, bro. No one my constituents don't care about what I said on fucking Twitter. They don't care. That's my counter to that. But they're gonna say I'm unhinged. That's what I don't give a fuck. Man, I don't care. Cause I'm gonna run the Malcolm X style campaign. Righteous anger against the establishment. Pull together a rainbow coalition, a rainbow working class to fight the corporate neoliberal establishment. And I did segments all the time on how I convert right wingers while I bring up my libertarian socialism. I'm like, bro, I believe in family values. I believe in smaller government more than the people that you claim represents you, because I am a First Amendment absolutist. You guys are not. I'm a Fourth Amendment absolutist. You guys are not. I want to repeal the Patriot Act. I think we should abolish NSA spying, abolish DHS, abolish ICE, slash the defense budgets of the police. So who's really smart government? Is it me or is it you guys who are bootlickers? Right? Yeah, Megan there said that. I'm like, that's gonna be my response. He said Twitter is such a small community. Not a lot of voters are gonna get fucked by Twitter. And I'm like, bro, people are starving. We need health care. You guys talking about my fucking Twitter? That's my response. But you know what's gonna come, because you guys follow my tweets. I every once in a while I cover politics. That's my main thing I do. But I like to shit post every once in a while. She get crazy. Yeah, forgive me. She said Susan Sarandon followed you, right? Yeah, she quote tweeted me yesterday. Always feel good when she does that. I'm like, when I see the people that can read my tweets, I'm like, damn, what the fuck? But that's how I win conservatives, though. Abolish CIA, abolish NSA. Cause I'm like, bro, you guys believe in small government, don't you? You guys actually believe in the nanny state, not me. Not me. You guys believe in the nanny state. I believe don't tread on me. That's what I believe in. And who's the real fiscal conservative? Mr. Corporate bailout supporters? Our healthcare industry spends more than any other country per capita, over 2 times more than Canada. So Medicare for all will boost jobs, boost wages, stimulate the economy, and save average American money. How are you the fiscally conservative one? You would save more money building homes for homeless people than building anti-homeless architecture and enforcing anti-homeless policies. Studies shown that. But who is really the fiscally conservative one? You neoliberals, you conservatives. Thank you for the follow, guys. I love you guys. Or the people like me who want to slash those police budgets, actually put the homeless in homes that are actually more economically viable than alternative, right? Hey, Jackie's in the house. What's up?
No.
What's up?
Hi.
I'm Brandon Raven.
First of all, I would just like to say that Susan Sarandon replied to one of my tweets.
That's lit. Like she follows and retweets it every once in a while. I love it. I love it. But what she say? What she say to you?
So okay, so I'd have to explain like the whole thing
Go
because
ahead.
I gave just one of those like I just did like I'm just gonna say this real quick. Like I'm sure nobody's gonna pay attention. I was wrong. Within like a few minutes, it had like 50 people like it, and I'm like, oh, this is one of those tweets. Okay.
Is that the one I retweeted?
So
I be trying to get my people in trouble by retweeting.
Probably.
I be trying to get my people in trouble by retweeting problematic tweets. But
see, here's the thing. It wasn't even problematic. Okay, so I'm gonna read my first tweet.
I know you
and then I'm gonna read the second one.
Here, send it to me. So I on screen. Send it to me on Twitter. If you have it, if you can, if not, it's cool.
Okay, hold up.
I haven't even said I love Brianna Joy Gray. Yep, that was one of the few follows I got. I was like, fuck. I rarely ever get like shocked, but that one I was like, damn. I gotta make sure I can watch my post. I don't want her to unfollow me. I always check. I'm like, I gotta check, make sure she ain't unfollow me because I said some stupid shit.
I thought you were the CEO of Wholesome Leftist Twitter, so you can't.
I know. I passed.
You're never supposed to say that kind of shit anyway. Okay. So my original tweet, I just sent it to you. My original tweet was, I'm starting to lose steam for hashtag force the vote.
Oh, yeah, that's Biden the one I retweeted.
Yeah.
Oh,
Biden said multiple times he'd veto it. What?
Yeah, I see
the response. Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to pull it up so people on the stream see what we're talking about.
Okay, so my original tweet, I'm starting to lose steam for hashtag force the vote. Biden said multiple times he'd veto it if it passed, and half the squad won't even fight for it anyway. I don't see us getting it without an actual revolution, and we are just too complacent. And I had to add a response to that because, like, half the responses were like, no, don't give up, and we got to do this anyway. And then, like, half the responses were, like, really cool, but then half the responses were like, this is why, like, they want you to give up, and this is why we need to force the vote, and people explaining why I should support force the vote, and I'm like, no, I still, like, I believe in force the vote. It's not the way you think. So then I hit.
Yeah, I like your take because that's why I retweeted because like your take and my take is slightly different on this, and I feel like people didn't understand my take on this because they made this big chart and I was on it where people were like. Social MMA is agnostic on this strategy, and I dive into that in a big. But we'll go ahead and finish up. I was like, that's not me. I just you guys didn't understand my point. I feel like that's what happened to you here. But go ahead, Jackie.
Yeah, I think a lot of people misunderstood. So I had to respond with, a lot of people are not understanding what I meant here. I am not against force the vote. I am just leaning into the force part and less into the vote part. I'm pivoting. And so to explain, like, for people who understand, I'm pivoting away from MLK and towards Malcolm X. You get my meaning. And I feel like that, like, got a lot of people, and they were like, oh, okay. But then some people, like, didn't quite understand the historical reference. Just to explain it to people really quickly, MLK was always the peaceful, like, let's march, let's not be violent. And Malcolm X was like, by any means necessary. If we have to burn everything to the ground, we gonna get what we gonna get. And so that's what I mean. Like, I'm not saying don't force the vote. If you want to stay within the system, absolutely force the vote. I'm 100% for that. I'm saying that we cannot rely on the system because the system is inherently irreparably broken, and now we need to rely more on the force part and less on the vote part. That's what I mean by I'm losing steam and force the vote. I'm not saying I don't believe in it. If you're going to stick to politics, you want to stay within the system, absolutely force the vote all day and all night. Right. I'm saying that shit's not going to work, and that we need the outside influences.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that's unreasonable. I mean, you gotta see my response in there. My response was like, we shouldn't vote for Nancy Pelosi anyway because she's been an enemy progressive. Not that she's not progressive enough. It's even beyond that. Like, we shouldn't vote for her because she's one of the most corrupt people in the world. Period. Like, how are we gonna endorse corruption? Like, it's not a political ideology about. I think people are misunderstanding this. Are you on the same page with me? Because I'm like, it's not about political ideology. I mean, that's one discussion to have. But we talking about someone who's been complicit with insider trading and with endless
Yeah,
war
this woman, since she has been in the Senate for the 190 years that she's been in there, she has amassed over $100 million, mainly through doing things like insider trading, which, by the way, they did through the course of the pandemic. Everybody wants to blame Trump. Everybody wants to blame McConnell. I am not saying these are good guys. I'm saying they're all bad guys, all of them, including Nancy Pelosi, including Chuck Schumer. And my whole thing is, as far as my position on what you're saying, I agree wholeheartedly. We should get rid of Nancy Pelosi because Nancy Pelosi is corrupt and inherently horrible. And as long as she, who is essentially the female Democratic version of Mitch McConnell, is Speaker of the House, we're not going to get shit. And I don't mean we as progressives. I mean we as citizens of the United States. We aren't getting shit.
Yep, it's only going to get
Which is
worse
why
too.
Things are the way they are.
It's only going to get worse too because everything that it's funny because whenever we had our Black Rose Brigade discussions, whenever we talk about buying platform, we would kind of laugh because I'm like, bro, he's not gonna do none of this shit. Cause you're gonna have Nancy Pelosi, you're gonna have blue dog Democrats who are gonna join the side of the forces of oppression and fight against those initiatives. I mean, he already rolled back his support of canceling some student loan debt relief, and I remember we said on our show that, bro, he's not gonna roll back policy that he's complicit in starting. He's not gonna do that.
Exactly.
So I wasn't shocked by that.
Amazing. It's amazing how many neolibs are waking up to what? You mean Biden's not gonna do the thing that all of you guys said he wasn't gonna do from the beginning? Yeah, we literally this whole time we've been telling you that, and they're like, I can't believe he would keep the kids in cages. Why? He put them there. What the fuck? Why would you think that he was gonna take them out?
Yes, and he walked back on that. I'm like, bro, people literally got so mad at me. I'm like, bro, he's not the immigration policy is not going to change between them because they literally set the precedent for Trump to do this in the first place. And as you pointed out on the show, I'm like, yeah, he literally created that through his crime bill. He literally created that through his policies, his support of the Patriot Act. He literally created this state that you guys want him to tear down. That never simply makes sense to me. I even said, Nick, do you believe that conservatives arriving to the correct conclusion but for the wrong reasons is good? An example will be conservatives hating the police because they won't beat and gas protesters. I actually seen clips of, I wish I can find it, but there were some conservatives that were getting upset at the police, and I remember I quote tweeted at the time, because he was like, well, we should fucking defund your ass because they was harassing them. And I'm like, good, yeah. Go ahead and get radicalized. Go ahead and get radicalized against our election system because MAGA people, they still believe the shit was rigged. And I'm like, welcome to the group. Welcome to the crew. We've been saying this shit forever. I've been saying our election was a fraud for I don't know how long. I mean, we've been saying this. I was like, I don't care how you get to that conclusion. I was once as long as you get there. But the problem with conservatives and it kind of feeds into the rant I gave earlier about liberal conservatives having kind of the same ideology. They are deeply unserious. So. And also, them going against the police is also problematic, and it shows something else as well. I'm gonna dive into that right as well. But
honestly, the way I see it,
go ahead, Jackie. What's your take? Go ahead, Jackie.
It doesn't matter. Okay, so let's be real. The people who have a problem with conservatives being on their team are liberals, yeah. Because progressives are like, we don't give a shit how we have to bring people around. I don't care if you because you're not going to convert everybody from a conservative to a progressive. And that's foolish to try to think that we want no Republicans. You got to stop thinking team sports. Think of the policies, you idiot. It's about the policies. If we can bring people to our side for the policies, even if it's for completely different reasons than why we're here, but we're still all fighting for the same policies, let's fucking do this. I don't give a shit.
And the funny thing
Let's just get the policies, because the policies are what help people.
The thing is, they are deeply dishonest about this as well, because they claim they hate us when we work for Republicans or we agree with Republicans on anything. But meanwhile, Joe Biden and his team, they're hiring Republicans. They literally invite them to speak at the Democratic Party National Convention. These are
birds of a feather.
You have Biden literally saying he's not going to go hard on Senate Republicans, and I played a clip earlier today about how he has a great working relationship with Mitch McConnell and how he literally believes in trickle-down economics. I don't know if you saw it, but I have it pinned right now because it kind of justifies my name because I'm like people like it's a fun game to play when you say Joe Biden's a Mitch McConnell Democrat. A lot of different variations you do, but people can understand. I'm saying that for a reason. I'm saying that because I'm drawing ideological maps. Like I say Joe Biden's a Mitch McConnell Democrat. It's funny, but they also agree a lot in terms of the ideological spectrum. Once again, that clip of him saying that the Bush tax cuts and tax cuts for the rich spur economic growth, despite the studies that show the exact opposite. So my opposition to these people, just like Shaggy said, is not dependent on party. It's never be dependent on party. If you agree with me on this issue, agree with me on that issue. And then when I actually talk to conservatives, I can have a lot of success with them because I'm like, bro, you say you believe in this, but the people you supportive are not believing in this, right? They say Trump is this maverick. He's extremely popular. He's extremely working class. But meanwhile, he tweeting about his support of $2,000 checks. But then he signs the bill into law anyway because he's a bitch of Mitch McConnell. I'm like, bro, why you guys like you guys see how I respond to my leaders? When I respond to my leaders, when I'm disappointed, I'll go off on them. I'm like, why are you guys not responding to Donald Trump lying to you guys? Shit doesn't make no sense to me. He said he's gonna pour out wars, but he escalated them. Why you guys not mad about that? he used to call out like you guys remember on the campaign trail? He used to call out Saudi Arabia all the time. And he used to tie Hillary Clinton with being a shill of Saudi Arabia, and he used to tie the corruption from the Clinton Foundation to Saudi Arabia and China. And then he gets in office and him and Ivanka does the same thing with the rental properties, being close to Israel, China, Saudi Arabia. And I'm like, when I literally talk to conservatives, I mean, in my real life, I'm like, bro, you guys okay with that? I thought you guys said you guys was against that. So I'm like, bro, you guys can't even begin to criticize me on my beliefs because I don't give them a chance to. I'm like constantly, I'm always on offense. I'm like, bro, I'm consistent. Where you at? Right? Where you guys at? I'm behind the comments. Let me catch up here. Let me catch on the comments.
Okay.
Oh yeah, we gotta talk about. I'm glad that you got on here too because I'll literally just about to discuss. Since we on Force the Vote, I'm gonna pull up the clip with Corey Bush and Jamal Bowman. We do that right after I'm gonna catch on some of these comments. I see you guys having a discussion. I think I missed the beginning of that one. A sitting man said there's too much money in healthcare, billions to keep healthcare private. How much is spent otherwise? Pelosi has got to go. Yeah, she complicit. This is like when I see the reaction and when I see the consequences of the COVID relief packages, and when I see them giving all this money to corporations while people are forced to starve, while they're literally taking workers' rights that our ancestors fought and died for. They literally stripping that away in this bill. Daniel said, "Are you running in 2022?" What your thought on that, Jackie? I answered that comment. That comment coming up. I think you had something to say.
Wait, which comment? Because I saw one person ask a question.
Yeah, what was it?
They want to answer.
I'm missing some. So what was that one?
Someone asked. So when we were talking about like, I don't care if they have a different ideology. If we want the same policy, we push for the policy because that policy helps someone. Then someone, I envy me, asked, and if they say we should kill all the Jews, uniting with people who think Black Lives Matter is a terrorist organization. Well, I got news for you. And throughout history, most people have thought just being black is essentially terrorism. So, and you're not going to change everybody's thoughts on that. So, as a black person, I can tell you, like, you can hate me, but if you're going to help me put through a policy that's going to help all of us, I don't give a shit.
Yeah,
we'll fight you on that later.
We'll fight you on
that later. That doesn't mean I endorse your ideology. It doesn't mean I'm putting a stamp on that saying it's okay. That doesn't mean that at all. I'm talking about for this policy, be it Medicare for all, Green New Deal, whatever policy is going to help the most people, it's going to do the most good, reduce the most harm. We come together to get that.
Yeah,
get that done.
Never concede on their grounds. Because once again, the liberals, they do the same thing that we are endorsing here as well. They work with Republicans all the time. I play that clip. Actually, look, I got example. Go ahead.
think of Biden. He worked with Republicans throughout most of his tenure as a senator, but he worked with Republicans on Republican issues because he's essentially Republican. Like, look at what he worked with Strom Thurmond on. He worked with Strom Thurmond on Strom Thurmond's terms. What I'm saying is we pull a Bernie. Bernie doesn't give a shit what the letters in front or behind of your name are. If you're going to sign on to his policies that'll help people, let's do it. He'll fight you on the other shit later.
Take over, Jack.
And we will fight you on other.
1 second, guys.
Okay. All right. So that's what I'm talking about. I envy me. I'm not saying that we co-opt their position. I'm saying if they agree with us on a policy, then we come together to enact that policy that's going to help people. And then if they try to be like, oh, hey, let's be anti-Semitic or let's be anti-Black Lives Matter, then we go after them on that front. But for right now, where we agree, we get the policy done that's going to help people. That's what I'm saying. You're not Biden. Well, it's good you're not Biden. And yes, Meganator, he worked with fucking segregationists. Exactly. But here's the thing. He didn't work with segregationists to help people. Like, it's one, if he had worked with segregationists to like clean up the environment, then it's like, okay, yeah, he worked with segregationists, but he did it for a good cause. He didn't do that. He worked with segregationists to help the segregationists to help them segregate. That's what I'm talking about. Like, you don't co-opt their position. You stand on your own position. You don't have to abandon your own principles and morals to reach across the aisle and fight with people and join with people in a fight to help people. That's what I'm saying.
What are you preaching to him about?
And envy, yeah, I agree. If the policy helps, then whatever. But what about afterwards? Well, like I just said, what happens afterwards is when they try to hit you with some bullshit, then you stand your ground and you say, hell no, we're not. This was not that kind of party.
And I mean, call me naive on this, but I think, and this is the reason why we have tensions in the divide in our country that is as bad as it is right now. Because my theory is, and once again, I think this can be proven historically through working class movements. If we actually had government response and we actually had coalitions that actually got stuff done, like if we, for example, we actually passed Medicare for All and we got those 40% of Republicans that support Medicare for All, I think it's like 46% according to the last time they did the poll on this issue. I think that will help bridge the gap of solidarity. And once again, this is just a theory I have. Because, once again, what the neoliberal class, what they love bipartisanship that hurts the working class. Like, for example, they come together to give corporate tax breaks, to continue endless war, of supporting the apartheid state of Israel. Like, these are the kind of stuff they come together for. These are not the kind of things that will hit, and it kind of sounds corny, but they're not the kind of stuff that actually will heal the nation. Like, we came together and we actually provided health care for everybody. Once again, this is just theory. I think that actually creates a level of solidarity that our society never experienced before, right? If we had a situation where we have paid family leave, and once again, conservatives benefit from that policy as well. This is how you move the Overton window to the left. And this is how, once again, I think if we had this multiracial working class movement that was able to accomplish stuff on this, it would change. And once again, there's the people that we are referring to as the too far gone people as well. Those people we're not going to win over. Once again, that's 30%. I mean, I cover this all the time. If you look at popular opinion polls, there's always that 30%. They're like, this policy is supported by 70% of Americans. They want like, what the fuck? How can people be against this? Like 30% of the country against legalized marijuana. What? It's like 80% of the country for legalized increasing minimum wage. Like, what is that? Who is this 20%? Like, this 20% is unmovable. Like, you're not getting them. But there are a lot of people, and I talk to them all the time, who used to be liberal, who used to be conservative, who they moved left. And I think, and this was the big threat of Bernie Sanders. If Bernie Sanders won and we was able to have power and build social movements to get programs that he wanted installed, I think the issue that you are having, and this is a fair issue, of working with the unhinged racist right wing, I think that wouldn't be as pronounced as you think. I think there would be a level of solidarity. Remember when 9/11 happened? Once again, this is kind of different, but when 9/11 happened, there was a level of community and connection that the country had together. I think if we were together and we saw the climate crisis, We have federal jobs guarantee, a UBI, Medicare for all. I honestly think, once again, this is just theory. I don't got anything to back it up. But I literally think that would actually heal a lot more than people think. Do you see what I'm saying, Jackie? What's your thoughts on that? Like, once again, that's just a random theory I had that I can answer for people who may be worried working on right wingers. Let's work on a solution that actually increases people's quality of life. I think there would be a level of solidarity that will develop among the country, right?
Okay, so you remember back in the past, I think it was when one of the streams we were on with Pat, and he disagreed with me. I said that in order to get policies to happen, we need to focus on economics and not social issues.
Yeah, we actually agree on that. Yeah, we talked about that.
And he was like, no, because Black Lives Matter protests. And I'm like, if you actually want to get the policy to change, you can't put a race or a face. It's got to be universal, and it's got to be something economic. This is what I mean. Okay, so I'm going to re-say this because I'm looking at what I Envy Me is saying, and I don't think they fully get what I'm saying because, okay, so first of all, they said, why is it on us to unite? I'm not saying we have to reach out to conservatives. I'm not reaching out to anybody. But what we're saying is, at the areas where we agree with anybody, it doesn't matter their ideology, their background, stop thinking of team sports. Start thinking of the greater good, okay? Think on the policies. If anybody comes around, like you were saying, they come around and they say, hey, I can't pay my medical bills. I need help paying my medical bills. I support Medicare for all. I don't care if you're part of the Ku Klux Klan. We agree on that. We all need that. It helps all of us. We work together for that. I don't have to go out and find them. If it comes to a situation where they're in the same boat as us, then we together rise as a team and say, hey, give us Medicare for all. Right. That's what we're saying. I'm not saying we have to go out and like preach to people, because Simple Average Person said, if David Duke wants to lift black people out of debt slavery, then let's do it. Doesn't matter who's advocating for it. And then I Envy Me says, the thing is that would never happen, and it isn't happening. This is exactly my point. It would happen, but not if you say we're going to lift black people out of debt slavery. What it's going to happen is he's going to think, I need to help my white brothers and sisters out of debt slavery. Only what he doesn't realize is in the United States, you can't separate by the race and policy. We're intrinsically linked. So when you tell him you're going to help out his white brothers and sisters, and you tell, the Black Lives Matter, hey, we're going to help out black people, it doesn't matter what the ideology is when the policy, we're united in the policy that's going to help the poor people. So you don't have to put a face on the policy. That's what I'm saying. He absolutely would fight to help black people without realizing it, because he'd be trying to help white people. Then we all benefit if the policy passes. You see what I mean? That's what I'm talking about. And that's why I said before, you can't put a face to the policy. You can't. It has to be on economic grounds, because on economic grounds, all poor people are poor, 100%. Doesn't matter their color, their gender, their anything, their demographic. All poor people are poor. It doesn't matter whether you're an atheist or a Christian or a Jew or a Muslim or a Buddhist. If you're poor, you don't have money. And so if we can get a policy together to help you, I don't give a shit if you hate me, because again,
right,
as a black person, most of y'all do anyway. So I don't really, that's not really affecting my day-to-day, okay? Let's just help each other out. Let's go come together for a policy. For example, Medicare for All has 80% approval in the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party is called the Big Tent because it's a majority of the United States demographically, which means you have poor people, or you have, let me rephrase this. You have people of color and you have people who hate people of color. It doesn't matter. We unite around this one issue. We all want Medicare for all. Even 50% of Republicans want Medicare for all. That's when we go, hey, when you add those numbers up, that's a majority of the country. Let's get Medicare for all.
Yeah, exactly.
After we get Medicare for all, you can start, your petitions to hate me for whatever reason. I don't give a fuck. I'll fight you all day and night on that. But first of all, meanwhile, we have healthcare. All of us have healthcare. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying we have to go find those people and we have to bring them into the fray. And because later on they said one side literally hates my existence, putting the burden on me is degrading. I'm good. Okay, if you are a person of color in this country, there has literally always been someone who hates your existence. I hate to be the one to tell you that. You're not going to change that. Okay? But if we can change our circumstances, because as you pointed out, like you, Nick, have pointed out multiple times in this podcast, there are like using Medicare for all would help Black people possibly the most, even more than reparations, because more of us have medical debt or won't even go to the doctor because we can't afford it. So that's like the number one way to help Black people is by giving us free health, is giving us health care.
Yeah, and
that's the best way to help us.
And I even mean, like, I see you said, why is it on us to unite? Like, once again, what we're saying, we're not moving to their position. Like, we are dragging them to our position. And it, once again, on the topic of healthcare in particular, once again, 46% of Republicans support Medicare for all. So we are building a multiracial working class to get these things done. We're not uniting on anything to support their policy goals, their ideology. We're just getting what we need done, using their ideology against them. Like when I talk about defunding the police, when I talk about abolish ICE, when I talk about ending the wars, I'm using their ideology against them. I mean, I'm taking what could be good about conservatism, but even though conservatives are mostly hypocrites on these issues, I take what they say is good and I use that to get our policy base done. And then on everything else, we can defeat them by sheer numbers. And then we defeat them and we tell them to suck it at the end of the day. That's what we do, and that's how we win about our ideas at the end of the day. So I see what he's saying, but I don't see anything degrading about forcing them on our side. You know what I mean? Let's see, we got a lot of comments here. Let me find another one.
I'm
like super behind.
One question, like the next major question that I saw is, do we think that this election was fraudulent to the degree that it was stolen? I'm going to let you answer that one first. I don't know if people want to hear my answer.
So, I mean, like, what do you mean fraudulent? Are you saying that is that question based on, is it being rigged against Trump? I don't. Are you talking about like in terms of our elections period? I mean, we got ample evidence of our elections being insanely fraudulent. I mean, look at the Shadow app in Iowa. I mean, that's the kind of election tampering and election fraudulent behavior I'm talking about. I mean, there's literally was a story written about how they investigated the Shadow app and showed that the DNC was 100% involved in that, and they were literally was paid by the Pete Buttigieg campaign, who was part of the Stop Bernie Sanders movement. I mean, why do you guys need an app to count a vote in the college? We never need that before. The app was never used for anything else. And once again, the media establishment teamed up with Pete Buttigieg and the Democratic Party, and they used this fake momentum to say that Pete Buttigieg won Iowa, and that 100% changed the course of that race. Because after that happened, they literally got 10-point boost in the polls in New Hampshire. Meanwhile, we had a fair election. Bernie Sanders would have 100% destroyed Iowa. He will got that 10-point boost. And thing is, I don't even think the whole South Carolina thing would even happen the way it was if we had the momentum we needed. Because the establishment did that for the reason, because if you have someone who dominates Iowa the way Bernie was about to dominate it, I mean, he won the popular vote by 5,000, that would change the entire race, just the media coverage alone. But the media coverage and the corporate media establishment they did everything they could to rig the election. And once again, they talk about Russia meddling in the election 2016. The meddling by the corporate media establishment on this one is unlike anything we ever seen before. I mean, there was a documentary on it. They literally have the Bernie blackout. It's not even a Bernie blackout. I mean, that is one part of what they did, but it's even worse than that. It's literally a Stop Sanders coalition in the media. The entire media establishment was filled with Stop Sanders. And the whole Pete Buttigieg thing was a part of that. So when you say the election's being fraudulent, I'm like, yeah, our elections are fraudulent. Are you talking about, do I believe in Trump's claims? I mean, okay, whether Trump's claim is true or not, you lost about 8 million votes, bro, in the popular vote. And my point I made, and I remember it made a lot of people on MAGA side mad, which I'm always aiming to do. But I'm like, bro, I don't want to hear shit about that. If you lost the popular vote by 8 million votes, I don't want to hear shit you lost, bro. You got blown away. So that's my immediate take on that. I mean, you guys got humiliated. You guys got destroyed by Kamala fucking Harris. Like at the end of the day, I don't want to hear any excuses. You got a lot of vote by popular vote by 8 million. I think the electoral college is the biggest affront to our democracy there is. It disenfranchises everyone, even you guys, even conservatives. Because I mean, you Californians, you guys are teaching me. I'm talking to a lot more of you guys every day. There's a lot more conservatives in California than I thought there was, actually. Believe it or not, all of them are disenfranchised by the electoral college. I'm disenfranchised. I never had my vote counted being arrested in Missouri. If you're a liberal in Georgia, your vote never counted there. If you're a conservative in New York, your vote never counted there. So our elections and our democracy is a joke to the very foundation and core. So when you ask me that question, like, do I think the elections are rigged? I'm like, yeah. Well, I'm not talking about just one instance. And this is what I want the conservatives to understand. The conservatives are like, yeah, this election system is rigged. Like, you guys are almost there. You guys are so close. But you guys are only saying it's rigged because your boy Trump lost. You guys need to acknowledge that our system, to everything about it, the fact that we don't have automatic voter registration, the fact that they purge voters, the fact that they can just throw out ballots and close down polling locations in heavily black inner cities and like the race in Charles Booker and Amy McGrath, our elections are a joke. And not just because my person lost or because this guy lost like a lot of these dumb Parsons do. It's because it's literally broken down to the core. So that's my take on that. You can go ahead, Jackie.
Okay, so are our elections rigged? Yes. Were the primaries rigged? Fuck yeah. 100%. Was the general rigged? Now here's the thing. Because we didn't have a standard general due to COVID, most of our votes were not done in person. So therefore, we don't really know if it was rigged or not, because there were very few. Like, the way that you can really tell if there was rigging or not is you go by exit polls, because most people tell you the truth after they voted. Like, yeah, I voted for this person or that person, right? And then if you look at when you look at the exit polls and you look at what that station says, if the exit polls are far off, then there was some fuckery. We can't really go by that because the vast majority of people this election cycle voted mail-in. Now, was there fuckery with mail-in ballots? Absolutely. Here in California, Republicans put out fake collecting stations, refused to take them down, and if anybody put their vote in one of those fake collecting stations, they essentially just threw it away. And that was just in California where it was caught. Oh yeah, that was it. That happened like a week before the actual election. So, and I was like, in my head, I was like, why would you put your vote in there? Why don't you just take it to an actual mailbox? Like, just put it in a fucking mailbox. That's all you gotta do. But then apparently some people are like, I don't trust the mail. The mail is literally like the most trustworthy part of our entire infrastructure. Like, I don't understand. Like, whatever. But anyway, I'm not saying that the mail, like the post office, is awesome. I'm saying the rest of it is that terrible. So it's very difficult to tell whether or not anything. You can't say directly 1-to-1. Yes, there was fraud here. Because here's the example. Historically, when more people have the opportunity to vote, more people tend to vote Democrat. However, this is historically one of the elections that, if it were not mail-in voting, I think we would have had like the fewest people physically come out to vote.
Yeah, that's why
because our options were, because our options were shit or shit. And it's literally, do you want red colored shit or blue colored shit? Like, those were our choices. So I can't give you any evidence. I can't say yes or no. I won't say no, but I can't say yes, here's why. Because just the fact of it being mail-in voting, it kind of makes it like there's no evidence to point to say, like, look at the exit polls. Because there were some exit polls, but the vast majority of votes came in through the mail. That said, do I think that... Okay, so first of all, before I get canceled, because I'm about to... before I get canceled, I agree with you wholeheartedly. The Electoral College is garbage. It's based on a system where essentially rich white landowners make the decisions for the rest of us. And we need to just get rid of that.
Yeah.
We don't need delegates or super delegates. Fuck all that shit. A vote is a vote. One vote, one voice. Corporations don't get any more of a say. They're not even people. Shouldn't get any say. That's my stance.
And
having said that, be prepared to cancel me. I don't think that the state of Georgia or the state of Arizona flipped to Biden. The counts were far too close, and those are deep red states. Even with mail-in voting, I still don't think he lost those two states.
Very interesting. Like I said, I got no confidence in the states.
Because I know I used to live in those states for a little bit, and I know the people there, and there's no way Biden flipped those people. So I don't think that I don't know. I can't say again. I won't say definitively like, oh, it was stolen from Trump, because if you like, we can't really say that for the reasons I mentioned before. But then also, since I'm not a fan of the Electoral College, I want it just to be one vote. One vote, one voice. So you just count the votes, and however many people voted for that person, that's our person. Well, if we'd done that, Bernie would have been our delegate. Bernie would have been our candidate, because he got more votes than anybody else. They don't want to do that. They want to play with math. They want to fuck with the delegate numbers. So that's why, like, when he won a state, he won Iowa, and they were like, all right, cool. We'll give him 3. We'll give Pete Buttigieg 6. How the fuck does that work? He got 6,000 more votes than him. Oh, because we don't want him to actually win. So we're going to fuck with the delegate math. And see, that's what I'm saying. Like, if you just go vote for vote, then I don't know who won. Because, again, there's fuckery all the way through. Do I think the Democrats fucked with it? I don't know, because previously the Democrats hadn't figured out how to rig the general election. That was a thing that Republicans mainly specialized in. Because in general, in the past, before, like, pre-COVID, the Democrats fucked with their own convention, and they were like, we are going to give you the candidate we want you to have, and it doesn't really matter who you vote for. And Republicans did the opposite. But then, like, when it came to the general for the Democrats, they were like, here, vote for our person. And then they were kind of hands off after that. With Republicans, they were like, we don't give a shit. It's whoever you guys vote for. They don't put their thumb on the scale in the RNC. But whoever it is, we're gonna make sure that fucker gets voted for. We're gonna make sure they get in. Whether they get the votes or not, we'll do whatever we have to with the Electoral College. We'll gerrymander, we'll redline, we'll do what we need to. We'll get our candidate in office. So in the past, that was the case. So the DNC didn't really have their thumb on the scale in the general. It was all in the primaries. But as we saw, the DNC is getting better at their fuckery. So now and then on top of that, you have a situation where the pandemic has opened the floodgates, because now it's mail-in voting. So the question is, who does the counting? I don't know. I just know that it was super close. And I remember thinking, if it's super close, I wouldn't be surprised if somehow the Democrats are like, look, we won all the states. Isn't that awesome? Like, all the states that were super close just happened to flip to us. Mail-in, like with mail-in votes. Okay, but here's the thing. 9 times out of 10 in the past, if it's close, the tie goes to the incumbent. It always flips just a little bit to the side of the incumbent. Almost always. And the only time, like in a situation like this, like in a normal situation where there was a crisis, Knight's behind the current regime because they're like, this is the person to really get us out of it. They kept it from being worse. Or the country's like, fuck this, you got us here, we're going to unite against you. Now, if that was the case, either way, it isn't close. The numbers are astronomical one way or the other. Either Trump wins by a landslide or he loses by a landslide. But you notice for weeks we had no idea, because there were several states that were right on that line. It was 49 to 49%. So that's what lets me think there's some kind of fuckery, because it shouldn't have ever been that close. Either Trump should have won by a landslide or he should have lost by a landslide. Because when you look at the pandemic, the people who said, he fucked this up, people died, he should have been ousted. Like, it should have been just like, oh yeah, he literally is the worst person in the world, and there should have been a wave, and it should have been not even close. And it should have been flipping states left and right. Or if people are like, well, the pandemic wasn't really his fault, and we were doing well beforehand, then it should have flipped the other way. And Biden should have had no chance. But it was close, which lets me think there was somebody who's putting something on the scale.
My thing is, I see Be Right Back deadlifting. He said, I follow news among progressive socialists, libertarians, communists, and the MAGA crowd, and with everything I've seen, I 100% believe it was stolen for Trump. But to be honest, I'm not really here to plead for Donald because the way I see it, it's just internal regime change opposed to external regime change that America commits all over the world. I mean, my thing is I'm hearing, and once again, I got no faith in our election system. The problem is with the claims that it was stolen away from Trump. It's like even if he won Georgia, I mean, he still loses, doesn't he? I mean, like even if all your claims, I'm talking about like the massive amount he lost by in terms of popular vote. I don't know if you think that is rigged. I mean, I would love to see like evidence of that, but like in terms of their claim, like the claim that MAGA's putting out there, I'm not seeing how people can assume that it was stolen from Trump, considering how bad Trump lost. Am I right on that, Jackie? Or am I wrong on that?
Sorry, I was reading comments.
Yeah. I mean, but that would be where our back deadlifting was saying. He one of the people that believe it was stolen from Trump. But based on all the numbers I looked into, I mean, I didn't dive into that much because it's not that relevant to me. People who pretend that they stole it from Trump, they're missing something very, very crucial. They're making the assumption that the establishment actually would care that much to steal it for Trump over Biden, because Trump is actually doing a ton of what the establishment wanted him to do. I think people overstated how much.
Here's the problem, though. Here's the problem with Trump. The reason why they want Trump out is we're already seeing it. As soon as Biden's in office, we can go back to sleep. We, being the general American public, the media can stop focusing on the bad things we do. We can get back to our standard American imperialism, where most Americans are 100% naive and don't pay any attention to what we do overseas or even what we do within our own borders, ICE, for example, and they can just go back to brunch. Like, look at what Nancy Pelosi was saying. And this is what, like, that was another controversial tweet. The day before Nancy Pelosi essentially admitted it, I asked the question, yo, does anybody else think that they're stalling talks because they want to wait for the vaccine? So, because remember, it was right after, like, oh, there's a viable vaccine. I was like, anybody else think they're going to use the vaccine to give us nothing? And people were like, no, that's conspiracy talk, blah, blah, blah. And then the next day, Nancy Pelosi came out and she was basically like, yeah, we're going to give you something, but not that much, because, I mean, there's a vaccine coming out soon. Literally exactly what I had asked the day before, but I was a conspiracy theorist. And she pretty much acknowledged, like, yeah, no, you're right. We're not going to give you fuck all. And that's when you went from $1,200 checks to $600 checks. And she actually said $600 is significant. $600 will not fill up her freezer with ice cream.
Yeah, I said we know how much money y'all get paid. Like, y'all know how little. Like, then we know you guys are not ignorant. Like, that was people pretending. Like, oh, they had no choice. You guys know that $600 is not shit. Like, so you wipe your ass with $600, and that's what they want to literally give to us. They want us to be okay with only $600 when you making $170,000 a year, $180,000. God knows how much fucking Nancy Pelosi actually makes. I mean, but once again, that's the ineffectiveness of our government. And my main focus and I can end this on this. We can do the segment on Nina and Corey. I have no faith in our elections at the end of the day. And we gotta have massive overhauls on our election. I mean, there's a lot of discussion about forced to vote and Medicare for all and all that stuff, but I know I'm on the board of Break the Duopoly, National Ranked Choice Voting, because I'm like, dude, none of this progressive ideas is even going to be implemented if we don't fix our sham of a democracy. I mean, you guys know my thoughts on how the Democratic Party primary was rigged, and we saw the shady stuff that happened against Bernie Sanders. So how can anyone assume they won't do the same thing to Nina Turner or any progressive candidate we might have in 2024?
Oh, they absolutely will.
So I'm like, we gotta. So even though we can rehash what happened, I think we gotta focus on like real policy solutions that will fix our democracy. And honestly, I think abolishing the electoral college is a big part of that. Having national ranked choice voting was a big part of that, because without those things, we're not gonna win. They're gonna screw the progressive candidate. And my thing when it's a Republican versus Democrat, I mean, I don't think they're gonna take the effort to do that. I mean, we saw how much they risked their party brand and their reputation in order to destroy Bernie Sanders. I mean, there was a famous story written how Democrat Party is willing to hurt their party brand in order to stop Bernie Sanders, and I think they really was going to. They didn't care how much it hurt the party because stopping Bernie Sanders in the movement was such an important task that if the destruction of the Democrat Party, I mean, what they did worked, but even though Obama gambit didn't work, God knows what they would have pulled. That's what I'm thinking. I think they was willing to risk it all to stop Bernie. I'm not convinced they wanted to risk it all in a battle between a standard Democrat and a standard Republican. I mean, I would love to see the evidence. I would love to see that. I don't think that's the case because they're so similar, and that go back to the COVID relief packages and COVID relief negotiations. They agree on this on principle. I mean, we have new viewers, but I mean, I'm all pull this up because once again, I want this clip to be seen because I don't know if you saw it, Jack. Let me get back my Discord here. Oh, what's that? There, oh,
Your sound?
Yeah, I'm back.
For a minute. There you are.
There I
am. Okay.
My Discord is acting up. But I'll play it again. I played this very early on my stream, but
oh my gosh.
I think I had.
Okay.
What was that?
Sorry, I'm reading the comments and it's starting to give me a headache. Okay, go ahead, and then I have to address the comments.
Yeah, you address the comments, but this is what I'm talking about, and when it comes to the ideology that both classes have, and I want to show this for my new viewers, and this is what we're gonna have to deal with. And once again, I don't want
to get him.
Let's
take a look at this. Get me in trouble. We talked honestly and frankly about the big things that were left to be done, and we could not agree, even the two of us, on some of them, but we agreed on a process. And we're able to reach the only major compromise.
It's just me. I'm not hearing anything.
Event that occurred in the first 2 years.
I think it may be playing for stream. I'm not sure why you can't hear it on Discord.
The compromise on tax policy.
Just so you know, it's pretty much. I'll let you know. So I'll let you know what they're talking about. Just save some time and resources. It's pretty much Biden. He's talking to Mitch McConnell, and this is during the Obama administration, and this is him doubling down on their support of making the Bush tax cut permanent. And he literally saying that even though they took a lot of heat for it, he thinks it's worthwhile because it legitimately helped the economy, despite the fact there's studies that prove the exact opposite, that trickle down doesn't work. So that's just so you know the extensive clip. Let me finish so the crowd can see here.
Which we both believe has spurred the economic growth. We got a long way to go, but it actually not only was a compromise, but it was a compromise that was useful for the economy.
He said a compromise that was useful for the economy.
Both
Meanwhile, income inequality increased under Barack Obama administration. So we seen Trump back down from Mitch McConnell on the stimulus check. Once again, he's a cuck of the highest order. At the end of the day, we was gonna be in the same situation. That's my takeaway. No matter what, so I don't think they will risk it that much for that election. That's my take. But I'll let Jackie address some of the comments that you wanted to go after, and then we probably call here soon. We're about a few hours in, 2 hours in almost. But what you had to say, Jackie, I'll give you the mic.
Okay, so INV and Chris Progress are saying that even talking about just having a conversation as to whether or not the election was rigged, it's QAnon bullshit. What the fuck? If you're just gonna blindly listen to politicians and just follow any bullshit that you hear, then go ahead and be a neoliberal, okay? That's not what I'm doing. Did I say directly that it was rigged for Biden? No. I specifically said, I can't prove that. I just said, I don't think that Trump loses those 3 deep red states. That's not a conspiracy. Those states have almost always been red. And for those states to be extremely close and then to flip for Biden, it's not a conspiracy to say that I don't think they should have gone that way. Does that mean that Trump that Trump should have won? Not necessarily, because I just said I don't believe in electoral politics. And essentially, those states flipped because of electoral politics. Had it been the actual, if we did one voice, one vote, like your vote actually counted, which it doesn't, to be clear, it doesn't. But if it did count, Trump probably would have lost. But you didn't ask that. You asked, was the election, and the election that we have has delegates, and it has electoral colleges and all that shit. And when you come down to that, I don't think that Biden took those 3 states. That's all I said. I didn't say that Biden rigged anything. I never said that. Okay? To question authority is not conspiracy. It's sanity. Because especially when your authority has been shown to fuck you over. Okay? I'm not spreading a conspiracy. I said, if you ask me, there are 3 states that didn't get flipped. Now, how and why? I specifically said I don't know. I literally never said that Biden did anything. I said, like I said in the past, the DNC hasn't been able to fuck with the general. I actually said that. So I don't know why you're sitting here saying that I'm like, I'm claiming that like, oh, it's all a conspiracy against Trump. Literally never said any of that. I just said, if you go by historical record, something doesn't smell right. Okay? Then they gave a bunch of excuses as to why it could have been close. Okay, cool. But don't discount the question. You have to ask questions. That doesn't mean what you don't want to do is you don't want to ask a question with an automatic assumption built in. You want to ask a question and you want to investigate. And you want to see like, I wonder where this takes me. Don't ask the question because you already know the answer, or you think you already know the answer. And that's essentially what you're doing. Like, don't shut down discourse and say, oh, that's all conspiracy level bullshit. You sound like a neolib when you say that. Because neolibs just want to believe everything that MSNBC tells them and go back to sleep. Okay? That's what I'm saying. So, do I believe that it was rigged for Biden? I don't know. That's what I literally said. I don't know. I believe that if Trump had the power to rig it in his favor, he would have. And he would have been reelected. So, I just said that there's some kind of fuckery that happens. And somebody was like, oh, it delegitimizes what little faith in American democracy the world at large has. At the very least, you can cast a vote. You're doing so with the assumption that the vote will be represented. Well, I hate to break it to you, but that's literally never been the case. That's what the Electoral College is for. You vote, somebody else says, I don't really give a fuck about that. I'm going to go with this person. That's what that's what superdelegates and delegates do. They take away your vote. It doesn't mean shit. I hate to tell you that, but that's how American politics has always been, okay? Your vote doesn't matter. Like Nick said, in his state, the red state, doesn't matter if he votes blue. The state's going red. I live in a blue state. Doesn't matter what I vote for. State's going blue. You literally don't really have a say in politics. Voting is the choice that keeps us locked into the matrix. Because when we realize that we aren't actually represented by anybody, that our votes have no say in what goes on, that's when we take to the streets. They don't want us to take to the streets. They want us to be complacent and be like, well, as long as I vote, I have a say. Oh no, more people voted for the opposite. I must not have gotten a strong enough backing for my policies. That's what they want you to think. That's not the reality. The reality is the oligarchs are pushing the buttons. The oligarchs are the ones telling you, I don't give a shit if the entire United States votes for Bernie Sanders. You're not getting him as president. Same thing is going to happen to Nina Turner. Hate to tell you. Also, when you say things like we need things like ranked choice voting, we need to break the duopoly, you are absolutely right, which is why it's absolutely never going to happen from within the system. The system is not going to give you the tools to help break up the system. System's working just fine the way it was designed, and it is not about to tear itself down. That's the whole point of my tweet earlier today when I said, I'm starting to lose faith. I didn't mean I'm starting to lose faith in Medicare for all or enforcing the vote for Medicare for all. I mean, I'm starting to lose faith in the entire political process because it's not going to help us. That's what I meant. We can't vote ourselves into a better life. And if you look back on how things have actually changed, we didn't vote ourselves into a better life. You think they sat around and voted, hey, let's give women a vote? No! Women got in the street and were like, we're shutting this bitch down until you give us a vote. And they're like, okay, just go back to the kitchen. Same thing with civil rights. Do you think they just decided? Do you think they came to a vote and they were like, "Well, it's really popular around the country"? No, that is not how change works. And I'm saying we need to stop relying on the system and realize how change actually works, and we need to get into the streets. That's my point. Rant over.
I want to see the left organize more, um, in terms of, because I think the future for the left is direct ballot initiatives. Because even throughout the course of this election, you see, and it's been consistent throughout the course of ever since I've been paying attention to politics. Whenever you put an issue to people who have to vote, that you see left wing policy win. Like you see, even Missouri, I live in the red state, super conservative. They literally voted to expand Medicaid in Missouri. They approved medical marijuana in Missouri. So these are the kind of things we can see get done through using the electoral process. I think putting all of your bags into electoral politics is not wise, but I think at the end of the day we should take all our shots, support mutual aid groups. But I do think pushing for ranked choice voting, which is something that I talked about with my friend Mitch Randall, we can put that through a ballot initiative vote. And there's a path forward that our group is working on to get people on board on doing that. And the good news is the movement of People Party is on board for that. So at the end of the day, I always think it's most important to discuss the fundamental ways our election is broken and how we can continue to fix them and how we can actually strive for the democracy that they sell us. Because those people, they're quick to say, we're not actually a democracy, we are republic bullshit. I'm like, bro, that's not an excuse for why our democracy is shit. Like we should be the one person, one vote democracy where everyone has integrity and I mean election integrity where we know for a fact that it will be secure. And we've seen legislation from paper ballots from people like Tulsi Gabbard that wasn't even supported by the Democratic Party, that was worried about like Russian mailing, or the people who worry about any issue with elections. I'm like, my question is like, when I talk to these people, like, do you actually support the recommendation that will fix it? Like, if you're a conservative and you worry about our elections being rigged and the quality of our democracy, why aren't you supportive of automatic voter registration, for example? You know what I mean? So this is how I usually like to direct the conversation. And I do
It
bring
doesn't
back
make sense to me how we have actual individuals that don't have a right to vote. Meanwhile, we have essentially corporations voting. That doesn't make sense. How is that a democracy?
it's a complete joke of the democracy. So that's why when I was asked this question, I'm like, is the election rigged? I'm like, it's rigged in the sense that our democracy is horrific, right? It's rigged in that sense, guaranteed. I don't know how anyone can fight on that point. I'll just say my rebuttal to the MAGA clowns who want to complain about this election. I mean, I can't take them seriously because once again, they parsing clowns. I mean, you guys lost the popular vote by 8 million. You want people to be purged off the rolls in order to win, which I don't think is your position at all. I mean, you literally have conservatives that are cheering the idea of throwing mail-in ballot votes away. I'm like, are you guys like openly fascist so your side can win? And I think that's the largest problem. You see the K-Hive and you see liberals, they literally brag about, oh yeah, Pete won Iowa. Like they literally brag about the corruption that happened with the Show app. And I don't know if I envy me biggest complaints people are complaining about the general election democracy, but I don't know how anyone in the right mind who's been paying attention to politics can be upset with anyone complaining that the primary itself was rigged. I mean, once again, there's been extensive reporting on the shady behavior behind Shadow App and the Iowa caucus. So, I mean, these are fundamental issues of our democracy. I don't know how anyone can have issue with, right? Megan there said we don't have a democracy, we have a plutocracy. I think I said that right. corporate fascism, corporate elitism, corporatism. I don't know what exactly where you want to put it, but plutocracy sounds pretty accurate, right? I think so.
Plutocracy is
Yeah.
that's how you pronounce it.
So that's my stance on that on that issue. I do want to talk about. We can do this story before I. Cause my thing is I'm thinking about if I get a chance, I may come back later this evening. Trying to do like afternoon show, and I may try to do one late. So if I do that, I need you guys to tune in. Hopefully that'll be something you guys be interested in doing. Because I haven't got any breaking news. So if you guys see any news story, that
Apparently they're voting right now.
voting on the stimulus package. Let's see
Yep.
what they ask. Let's check out. Let's see what they're saying on Twitter. So I want to. Is there anything newsworthy to break on the vote so far? Or are they just in the process of doing that? Like I haven't got any breaking news. Pretty much all day, pretty much. So I don't know necessarily what I missed.
The only thing I saw was that yesterday Trump voted on the shitty stimulus, and it's amazing to me. Okay, can we just talk about the disconnect between liberals and pretty much everybody else? So let's do some history on the stimulus, right? Before, like, go back to the very first one. Mnuchin, Mr. Republican, right? He comes out and he's like, yeah, we may have to give people a stimulus of like, I don't know, $1,000 a month maybe. And by the time it gets to the House, Pelosi has been like, no. We're going to give them $1,200 one time. And we're going to means test it. And so I'm like, wait a minute. If Republicans were going to give us $1,000 a month, how you go down to $1,200 one time? Like, what happened? Where'd the other months go? And then you go to, and then after that, it's like stimulus after stimulus after stimulus that had nothing to do with the American people and everything to do with corporations. Some corporations that don't even plant their flag in the U.S. That doesn't make any sense to me. Why is the U.S. giving corporations that don't even pay taxes in the U.S. anything? You don't pay U.S. taxes. Go to the places you do pay taxes to, or that you don't pay taxes that you're supposed to pay taxes to. You shouldn't be coming to us for shit. Anywho, then you go to right before the election when there was supposed to be another stimulus. Trump is like, look, fuck y'all. I'm going to write an executive order. And everybody's like, no, you can't do that. So then he's like, okay, then do something. And Pelosi was like, no, because if people suffer, they're going to vote you out. So we're not going to do shit. The Republicans, even McConnell, at first, and here's something everybody's going to say. McConnell said no. He said no the first day. And then he had a meeting with Trump, and he came back and he's like, all right, fine. We'll take the $1.8 trillion. Because remember, Pelosi at first was like, $3 trillion, and you give us like half the world. And Republicans were like, go fuck yourself, Nancy. That's not happening. So then Trump was like, look, man, if we don't get something done, I'm not getting reelected. Just do whatever. Give her something. Give people checks. And so McConnell was like, oh, fine. Okay, we'll take the $1.8 trillion, which gives everybody a $1,200 stimulus check and re-puts the UI help to $400 a month or $400 a week. It's not the $600 that we got originally, but hey, it's $400. Still helps because nobody can live off of regular unemployment. Okay, so they come back. The Republicans come back, and Mnuchin's like, "Here, we've got this. We've agreed on the 1.8." And then Nancy's like, "I do not sign." and everybody then was just like, "Whoa, wait a minute, what's up? Like, why isn't she signing?" And then she's like, "Oh, it's the Republicans. They don't want to give you anything. You know, I'm trying here, and they're not gonna." You know, and everybody's like, yeah, but they agree to the 1.8 trillion, take it. And she's like, no, it's really close to the election. I don't want to really do that. And
they're playing
then
politics with people's lives for real.
Yes. Then the election comes and goes. Now, remind you, on the table right at that point is a $1.8 trillion deal that gives a $1,200 stimulus to everyone, $400 for UI aid, right? UI meaning unemployment insurance. Okay, just to clarify. And everybody's like, or Pelosi's like, no, not good enough. So then fast forward 2 months, and Pelosi's like, okay, now that people are about to get evicted and kicked off of what little unemployment they have, we're going to give them $300 a week in additional unemployment insurance and $600 stimulus checks. And by the way, if you don't sign it, we're going to blame you for everything. By the way, it was also pointed out that Joe Biden, everybody's like, wait, why isn't Biden saying anything? He's supposed to be like, no, give us $1,200. Biden was the one who championed for it only being $600.
Yeah, he actually stepped in and will say, guys, we can't be unreasonable. And that what he was saying to his Democrat colleagues, and that got them to nudge towards supporting the smaller stimulus bill. And
and if you looked at his rhetoric, his like tweets and what he was saying, he was like, nobody wants a handout. He was trying to prep us for, we're not going to give you shit. Yeah. So, because he is the austerity candidate. He's far more austerity than Trump is. Because here's the thing, Trump doesn't give a shit about anybody. But that's just it. He doesn't give a shit about anybody. But he does give a shit about himself. So if it'll make him look better, he's like, well, then just give people checks. It could get me reelected, get people checks. Yeah. So that's why he did that. Like, don't get it twisted. I'm not a fan of Trump, and I don't think that he gives a shit about any of us. I know for a fact he doesn't, but he does care about himself. And what would help himself is if people think that he gave them money. That's why he tried to get it done before the election. When it didn't get done, and he's still fighting to try to kind of like, maybe I can kind of wrestle out the election and kind of take it from Biden. Once he finally conceded, like, okay, I can't do that. Now it's all about legacy. A lot of people forget that. When a president is outgoing, it's all about legacy, especially if they're a one-term president and have the ability to run again. Okay? So now he wants to protect his legacy. He doesn't want his legacy to be the pandemic happened under his watch. He wants his legacy to be he gave people money when they needed it. Again, he doesn't give a shit about people. Yeah, okay?
He a comment, he still folded at the end of the day. And it's kind of crazy because I never wanted to jump the gun, and I feel like people always did that, and it always drive me crazy when people were like, Trump is the worst president of all time. I'm like, man, I want to see this dust settle. I want to see how things are after his policy's been implemented. I want to see the grand scheme of things, because you don't really know the effects of a leader. Well, you can see some immediately, but it usually takes a year or so to see the market and how it adjusts. We've seen that with Barack Obama economy. We've seen studies that was starting to come out around 2016 that was a lot I'll read about black wealth tanking and the kind of stuff that you see that Barack Obama was directly responsible for. So I'm always like, wait, put on the break before you guys say Trump is the worst. But I was hoping that Trump will kind of go out as a populist bomb thrower. I mean, that kind of like, man, we really hope he would say fuck Mitch McConnell and the Republicans. But I mean, he been speeding up federal executions, trying to ramp up the war in Iran. It's like, man, you can really tell that Trump is a bitch, and you're not really either. He's not really controlling the ship, which has been my theory from day one. I think he's just the deal. I mean, because there was a story that released shortly after he was elected in 2016, and how he asked John Kasich to be like his hype man, the guy that will be like, he would be like the one that will actually run the country, but Trump will be the hype man. Not John Kasich, but Trump being hype man. I mean, I don't see no reason why to assume after watching his presidency and seeing how bad he actually broke his promises and seeing what he's doing right now. I mean, everyone's saying that you want to run for 2024, but by like executing Brandon Bernard and doing these federal executions and running against Iran and actually signing this bill instead of putting your foot down, it's like, man, you really are just a bitch of Republicans. And I tweet at the time, man, he's literally just a Mitch McConnell Republican. He's a George Bush Republican. Mm-hmm. And there's a heavy burden, and there's something to be said about the person who set the precedent. So there's always be that shade on Bush for starting the precedent. There'll always be shade on Barack Obama for starting the precedent. But I think a lot of people, I don't think they, even when I see liberals where they attack Trump, and people don't even know, like people, I only been on Twitter since like 2018. There was a point where I would go after Trump a lot more than I did now. I started focusing on going after Democrats. I'm like, bro, the ways that you guys are attacking Trump is literally the dumbest shit I ever heard in my life. Like if you see how I would go after Trump, and this is what I was looking forward to the most when Bernie won, if Bernie won. My line of attacks on Trump is so sharp and it's so deep, and it cuts right to the bullshit. Meanwhile, liberals like, oh, Trump is a Russian traitor. Oh, he Putin's puppet. He wants soldiers to have bounties on them that Russia put on. He's a Manchurian candidate. He said mean stuff on Twitter. Like, bro, you guys attack him in the worst ways. I mean, if you look at his actual legacy, he only had 4 years. But if you look at how he's ramping up war, I don't see how anyone can say he's any different than George Bush. But at the same time, if you're a liberal and you pretend that Donald Trump's the worst thing of all time, if you look at Barack Obama's first term, you look at Donald Trump's first term, Barack Obama actually deported more migrants than Donald Trump has done in the first term. Once again, so I'm just speaking pure facts, guys. I'm just speaking pure facts. So there is a group of people on the left that don't really understand the unbelievably negative impact of the Trump administration. But then there's the other side of the people who pretend that he's the worst thing of all time. And it's like, bro, he's just following the precedent of the executive authority in America. I mean,
let's one of the biggest things. The U.S. presidents are puppets.
Yeah, exactly.
Every single one.
That's exactly the point I'm getting.
But they are not puppets to foreign agents. They are puppets to the Pentagon.
Yeah, and for example, one of the worst things that Trump has done throughout the course of his administration, once again, liberals, they pretend to care about this, but they don't really care about this because we see Joe Biden doing this already. Because once again, Donald Trump will put people ahead of the EPA, and they're supposed to be in charge of monitoring government agencies that they have conflicts of interest in. Meanwhile, Joe Biden is quite literally doing the same thing. I mean, I don't remember his name. Like, once again, I always tell you I'm horrible. Now I look at the exact name of it. But his EPA pick literally had financial stock in fossil fuels and was a big part of fossil fuels. The person, his defense, Secretary of Defense, Michelle Envoy. Once again, I think I remember her name, Michelle Envoy. I mean, she literally has stocks, and she literally helped negotiated defense contractors to get bigger contracts for the U.S. government. So once again, that's when I'm talking about what Trump did, he did the same thing with NPA. He put, once again, I don't remember the exact name. I apologize for that. But the guy that Trump put in charge of the EPA, he has stocks in fossil fuel industries. He did the same thing that Joe Biden is doing now. So my argument has always been, and people who always strawman my argument, always say to us, oh, you don't criticize Trump enough. You don't go after Trump. You're a Trump apologist. I'm like, no, you deeply misunderstand my argument. My argument isn't that Democrats are better than Trump. My argument is that Democrats are like Trump in every sense of the way. I'm not talking about like, oh, they're a little bit like Trump. They are literally Trump. Like, in terms of the policies, the conflict of interest that they are responsible for, the amount of times they lie. I mean, how is Joe Biden lying about the fact that he was served in the civil rights movement? How is that not a Trumpian lie? You know what I mean? Like, how is that not?
See, I even said that in a tweet earlier today because somebody was like, we tried to tell y'all that Joe Biden was just a nicer version of Trump. And I was like, no, Joe Biden is a nicer version of Trump as long as you throw him softball questions. As soon as you treat him like the media treats Trump, he is just as cranky an old man as Trump. He's just not as funny. At least Trump has some zingers. Like, I'm not. At least
Trump sucks at managing the oligarchy. Like, you actually say stuff that Biden would never actually say.
Trump will say the quiet part out loud.
Yeah.
And that's what his base loves. They're like, see, he's honest. And I'm like, yeah, he just, like, everything else he said was a lie. But sure, that one sentence that he told the truth on, like, yeah, run with it, whatever. But, and see, I think that's what a lot of people don't understand is that we don't like Trump. We're not pro-Trump. We just see things as they are, and there's a lot of nuance. Trump is not 100% evil. He has done things that have helped people. Meanwhile, the Democrats are not 100% good. They have done a lot of things that created a lot of harm. And when you point out both sides, people want to call you QAnon. They want to call you conspiracy theorist. And it's like, no, I'm just pointing out that I don't see things through this partisan bullshit lens. I see things as they are. Some things, like a lot of things that Democrats have done, have hurt people. A lot of things Republicans have done have hurt people. But not everybody has done all, like, there's no such thing as 100% evil. There's no such thing as 100% good. That's why when AOC says some shit like, I don't think we should really force the vote, people like us get up our ass because we're like, we didn't ask you, bitch. We're trying to tell you, you need to force the vote. We got you there because you said you were going to fight for us. Get to fighting. We're not here to hold anybody's hand, no matter what team they're playing for. If you're going to fight for us, we are on your team for right now. Like, basically, we look at it like this. If you're fighting for the policies we're fighting for, right now, in this situation, we're on the same team. The minute you stray from that, we're not on the same team. So don't come at me with any of this leftist infighting bullshit. If you're against the policies, you're not in that leftist camp in the first fucking place. Like, why are you even talking to me about that? So I am all about the policies. And whoever can give us those policies. There was a point at the beginning of the pandemic when Trump floated around the idea of expanding Medicare for everybody. That's what he said. Now, what do we call that? We call it Medicare for all. Okay. And a lot of people point out, like, a lot of libs were like, he was only talking about when it comes to COVID. Okay, well, at least people wouldn't have literally $1 million bills from this. Which, by the way, there have been. There are people who've had $300,000 bills. It doesn't matter if it's only $1,000. If you don't have it, it doesn't, like, that does harm. But you wouldn't fight for it. You wouldn't say, hey, even though I'm a Democrat, I'll support you because that helps people. Because you are too busy doing team sports. So now you have people who get COVID and their lives are destroyed because they don't have insurance, or even with the insurance, they can't afford it. But hey, at least you stuck to Team Blue. That's so fucking stupid. So fucking stupid.
He said Ilhan supports force the vote. I don't know if you saw it. I don't know if you saw the comment by it. I me and Chris Progress like, oop. We should. They're pretty much saying they get what you were saying, and they wanted to apologize. They sounded rude. That's what they were saying. I don't know if you saw that during your rant.
No, I wasn't.
So they know what you were saying now for the most part. They said,
all right, cool.
They get where you was coming from. So that's why I was letting you guys talk that out because I was thinking, like, I think you guys are on the same side here, but I'm glad that you guys came to the understanding.
Like, we are on the same side, and like I see a lot of posts.
Here, take over real quick.
Right now, again. What? Okay. Like right now, I'm not talking about necessarily you guys in the comments on Twitch specifically. I'm actually talking about like on Twitter. A lot of times people are like, oh, leftists shouldn't fight each other. Well, we need to, because sometimes you got to separate the wheat from the chaff. Sometimes we need to say, like, everybody who says they support Medicare for all or have M4A in their bio, they're not always willing to get uncomfortable in order to get it. And you're going to have to get uncomfortable in order to get it. So sometimes we do need to separate the wheat from the chaff. We need to be able to see, like, okay, we put you in this position of power. Are you going to fight for it? And when you have people saying they're not willing to withhold their vote for Nancy Pelosi as speaker in order to fight for a policy that we literally elected you to fight for, like, let's be real. The only true elections that we have are elections on the smaller levels. Like president, we don't really get a chance to really fuck with that. But we can we can choose who our representatives and our senators are as much as we can. Again, you still have things like, gerrymandering, redlining, stuff like that. But as far as our ability to one-on-one say who represents us, that's our closest shot to actual democracy. Okay. So when we elect you, because you said you were going to fight for a Green New Deal, you said you were going to fight for Medicare for all, and people have gave you money because we believed that you were going to fight. And here's the thing. A lot of people are like, if you don't live in AOC's district, you didn't vote for her. Doesn't matter. Take away all the money she got that's not from her district, because she got money from around the country. So, and she still represents us as a nation, not just her little district. She does represent her district, her area, her slice of the U.S. She does represent that directly, but she also directly represents all of us who spread the word, who push for her to get into office, everybody. Okay. So when we elect you because you say you're going to fight for these policies, And now is the perfect time. When is there going to be a better time to push for Medicare for all rather than in a pandemic during the second strand, which, by the way, like, it's mutated a couple of times, and each time it mutates, it seems to be favoring mutating to being um, more communicable, so it's easier to catch. Fortunately, each time it mutates so it's easier to catch, it's actually mutating a little bit less deadly, but just a little bit. It's still deadly, but it's very, very contagious right now. It's far more contagious than the strand that hit us in February. So we're in the second stage, right? And if you know anything about pandemics, this is the one that we're in now. But the last one we were in was 100 years ago. And if you know anything about any pandemics, usually second stage is when most people die. Because the first stage is like the opening act. It's like, I just kind of want to test the waters, see how many people are going to get this. Second stage is when you get the mass die-offs. Okay, that just started.
Yeah.
We are the beginning phases of the second stage of the pandemic. There is no better time to get a vote for Medicare for all. Got to do it right now. And if you're not going to do it, what are you doing?
And that's just something that I've been preaching recently, and that's something I noticed throughout this year, following the progressive movement. It's like, I get it's good if you agree with us on policy. That's very important. But if you don't agree with us on strategy on how to get there, and if you're not willing to fight for those policies, what does it actually mean that we agree on the issue if you're not going to fight the party leaders in order to establish those policy beliefs? Because once again, I mean, all these things that we want AOC to do, she said that she was going to do when she was running. I mean, so isn't that the same issue with liberals, right? People saying they're going to do one thing and then they do another thing when they run. So this is why we always got to hold her for too far, because we can't allow her celebrity status to make us go soft on her. And I feel like there's a lot of people that they've fallen for the trap of public personas over policy and politics itself. And that's something that I've always been very, very frustrated by. I mean, I like Bernie Sanders. I admire him as a leader. I can still say I still admire him as a leader, but I never held him as anything more than just a senator that I agree with and I like. And that's someone I'm going to put pressure on, and I'm someone I put pressure on repeatedly, and they don't like me for doing that. But that's our role. They're not our friends. We gotta fight them and press them to represent our interests. And people who pretend that AOC is like our friend, like she's some sort of like one of our homies, we gotta drop that. We gotta focus putting pressure on them. Megan there said, DM me your Discord so you want to try. Yeah, I want to bring you on. You one of the early supporters. Once again, I'm planning on. Cause I'm gonna wrap this stream up here soon, actually. And like I said, if I get a chance, I may come back. Maybe I'm thinking maybe around 8 or 9. Just do like another hour or so. We about 2.5 hours in. I already see the streams. We usually start lagging after like a few hours. So I think I'm gonna call it now. I appreciate everyone for watching. You guys know my co-host Jackie. You see her around. I usually stream around this time 3 p.m. Eastern time. I'll be back on the stream on Tuesday. Also, scheduling something with Nico House. I think we're gonna do collaborative stream. I think I want Jackie to be on there as well. That'd be pretty cool. How that Black leftist conversation. Nico, my boy. So I think we're gonna have a stream on Wednesday. So